make money, make muscles, learn game. If you're listening to me, you're a hot dude. The hot dude life is not about your physical appearance. The hot dude life is a mentality. The Hot Dude Army is a global network, and the Hot Dude Army is everywhere. Decrease your judgment of others and increase the judgment of yourself. So you belong to the streets, huh?
100%.
It starts with learning dating, and then you move on to something to push humanity forward. That is the philosophy of modern life dating.
This is a textbook example of really good game.
Boom, baby. We are live. Welcome to Interview with a Man, episode 575. This is crazy. I've been doing a lot. We're going to hit 600 before the year is over. Happy Money Monday to everybody. How's everybody doing today? Mic check, mic check. Is this nice and crisp at this distance? Because we got to make sure that we can see Money Muscles game frame in the frame here clearly without the mic and the mic arm in the way. Is this loud? Is this crisp? Am I in your face? Or do we need to crank it up just a little bit? Let me know, because today we got a long episode. We've got Andrew Tate versus Piers Morgan. Honestly speaking, I just want to tell you that in this today's video, you're going to want to make sure you have no small children in the room, no small animals in the room, no small women in the room, because you might just get enraged and throw an object and hit one of these beloved people. Guys, I fucking hate Piers Morgan. This guy is such an insufferable fat boomer fuck that I just can't believe how this guy is just such a person who is like, oh man, it's just like this guy is just like, he really is like an agent of the Matrix. I know I'm sounding like, you know, I'm sounding like, you know, talking too Matrixy, but this guy is like, he's such a total slave driver to the Matrix. And we're going to talk about that on today's episode. This episode is really bad because Piers Morgan just kept interrupting Andrew. Piers Morgan was taking every low blow he could do against Andrew, and Andrew held his ground. Some people said he got a little too defensive. I just do believe that he did get defensive only because he was consistently attacked. So I pretty much got nothing to say. Let's just jump right into it. Here we go. Let's go right here. All right, well, here we are in today's episode, and let's just jump right into it. We got a long show to go. I got nothing special to say.
Tonight on Piers Morgan Uncensored, one of the most infamous men in the world, Andrew Tate's misogynistic tirades have been viewed billions of times online. He's now
right there. He's starting off on a low blow, misogynistic. Okay, so let me just tell you what the keyword misogynistic okay, means. Okay? So misogyny is basically like is a hatred against women. Okay? If you take a look at Google right here, you can see it here. Misogyny refers to a hatred of women. Okay? Dude, this is the ultimate low blow, and this is a trigger word that they like to use to manipulate men into doing whatever they want, because they know women are the ones that do all the mindless spending and mindless voting. And these corporate machines only care about one thing and one thing only. That's extracting money and votes from women. Feminism isn't about making the world better and making women happier and making them better people, because if that were the case, they would be looking deeply into the fact why American women and women around the world are plummeting in happiness, because they've lied to these women and they tricked them into thinking like, oh, a corporate job's going to make you happy. Being a corporate slave is going to make you happy. Think about how much you guys hate your corporate jobs and you want to get out of that shit. And they're like, oh yeah, like, oh, men are happy doing this, and so like, you know, you're missing out, girl. You're totally missing out. And so like it's just a lie. It's manipulation. Like, dude, I'll tell you this, like, money doesn't make you happy. I can tell you as a guy who has done pretty well for himself in his life so far, money doesn't make you happy. Good relationships with men and women, okay? Good brothers, loyal brothers, brothers that are ambitious, brothers that got their shit together, that is what's going to make you happy in life, okay? And a good, loving relationship with one woman or many women, whatever the case may be, right? That's really what's going to make you happy. It's not money. Like, you think it's going to make you happy because you're just kind of chasing that dopamine high. But, I mean, quite frankly, that's just not the truth whatsoever. And, you know, they've completely tricked and manipulated women. And this is why women are catching up and, you know, offing themselves and prescription drug abuse and alcoholism. Like, they're miserable because they've strayed away from what women are supposed to do. Make and take care of families. Think about how much you love your mother. Think about it right now, how much you love your mother and how more miserable you would have been if she wasn't there consistently at home helping take care of you. So he's talking about misogynistic tirades and stuff. Piers Morgan is a fat boomer fuck. Okay, and this guy doesn't care about anything other than getting outrage, clicks, and views. He's another version of Oprah. He's another version of Dr. Phil. He's another version of The View. He's just the British take. And if you watched his interview where he was interviewing Jordan Peterson versus how he's interviewing Tate, I mean, it's night and day how he treats them. He almost like bows down and like cucks out to Jordan Peterson, who's not an alpha male. And then Andrew Tate, who's a bona fide alpha male, solid role model for people. He completely just bows down, and he completely doesn't bow down. He goes on the constant attack. Now, I'm just going to tell you right now, it is so frustrating. Piers Morgan, and I challenge somebody in the audience to count how many times Piers Morgan interrupts Andrew Tate during this interview, because it is a large number. It is probably, I don't know, I would say it's probably 100 plus minimum, bare minimum. So let's check it out.
Now being effectively banned, though, from the internet. He doesn't think that's fair. Tonight, I'm going to try and work out if it is.
From London, this is Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Well, good evening from London and welcome to a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Andrew Tate, one-on-one. He's the most famous man you probably never heard of, with billions of views online. At one point this year, more people were searching Google for Andrew Tate than Donald Trump or Kim Kardashian. A former professional kickboxer, he was kicked off Big Brother in 2016 after a video emerged of him striking a woman, in what they now both claim was a consensual sex game. He's since made millions as a pornographer and casino owner in Romania, but it's his online videos that have made him notorious across the world, posing as a playboy with fast cars, cigars, weapons and cash. He rants about his often scandalous views on women.
Or instruct a female to provide sustenance. Cook.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes.
Tells young men they can get as rich as him by paying for his digital life lessons.
I have 100 business tips I'm going to teach you, which will allow you to make your own money instantly.
But amid a global media backlash, the net has closed on Andrew Tate. While millions still share his videos, he's effectively banned from the web, booted off Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. To his fans, he's a misunderstood satirist and the victim of big tech censorship. To many others, he's a malicious misogynist. Tonight, I'll try and get to the truth. Well, some of the opinions Andrew Tate shares in his videos are undeniably deeply offensive. We're going to show you some of them on this show. I think you should see them for yourself, not simply hear what he says about them or what other people say about them. Tens of millions of people across the world follow Andrew Tate, and with a big following comes a big responsibility, as well as a public interest in holding his views to account. If outrageous opinions are read aloud, they can be challenged and exposed for what they are. If they're silenced, the person holding these views can become a martyr. So that's why I invited Andrew
you
Tate
have accepted
to come
the
here
truth.
tonight, and he joins me now live. So Andrew, well, welcome, first of all.
Thank you,
you come all the way from Romania to do this interview.
Correct.
What do you hope to achieve from this interview? Why are you here?
It'd be interesting to have a conversation with you. You've certainly been the subject of your own divided opinions in the world. There's a lot of people who would say some of the things you say are perhaps dangerous or toxic. So I thought you'd be a good person to speak to about this subject.
I didn't know much about you before this year, and then I suddenly became very aware of you, as the world did, because, as I said earlier, you were the #1 subject searched on Google ahead of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was even possible.
Yeah.
Why did you get suddenly so popular / infamous, do you think?
I exploded. I certainly didn't do that with magic. I've been on the internet for a very long time. I think in the world we live in now, as the other side, the people who disagree with me, as they get more and more tyrannical in their censorships and their hate mobs, etc., as standard masculine practices are deemed toxic, I didn't put a magic spell on everybody. I managed to accumulate a large amount of affinity with the male populace across the Western world because I'm simply saying things that many men believe, think, and feel.
The problem I would say is I want to play you just a clip off the top. This is from Joe Rogan, who's somebody I absolutely love.
Sure.
And I think it explains to me what I presume my issue with you is going to be, right?
Correct.
And you
All right,
you have absolutely got the right to try and persuade me otherwise.
Sure.
But Joe Rogan said this about you.
My 12-year-old and my 14-year-old asked me about Andrew Tate.
And
my
what'd you say?
14-year-old
What'd you
asked
say?
me, I said he's a legit world champion kickboxer. I go, I like him a lot. Why do you like him? And I was asking him. And they said he says a lot of funny stuff on Twitter and TikTok. He f***ed up with the misogynist.
Yes.
Because if he didn't do that, if he just did the pro-male stuff.
So I thought that was interesting because when I've gone over everything that's been at the centre of the debate about Andrew Tate, I come down with Joe Rogan in the sense that there's a lot of stuff you say I agree with. You know, I've got 3 sons in their 20s. It's not easy, actually, being a young male in the modern world. And I think a lot of the things that you say about that can resonate with them. The problem comes with the, I don't know, 10, 20% or whatever of your output, which on the face of it appears to be blatant misogyny. And when you couple that with your massive influence and huge reach, that is why the social media companies have decided to effectively cancel you. I don't believe in cancellation. I don't believe in censorship particularly. That's why I've invited you to come on the show. But I do think a lot of the things you've said are blatant misogyny. Do you accept that?
So you made a very interesting point there. You just said on the face of it appeared to be blatantly misogynistic. I understand that on the face of some of the long format content I've made, if you're going to take a few seconds out of hours, chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame, then things can absolutely not be taken out of context. I do not hate women in any regard. I have no negative relationship with women. No women have come forward saying I've hurt them. I have no criminal record for hurting women. There's no way I can be seen as the face or the devil in regards to how men treat women on the planet. I'm absolutely and utterly the opposite. I believe in protecting and providing. I've been misunderstood. There's been large contingents of people who have tried very hard to purport lies about me. And the truth of the matter is, I've been producing content for a very long time. Hours and hours of videos been cut down to 2 or 3 seconds of clip. Those clips have gone viral and people misunderstand me.
But I think you've used this phrase of being taken out of context. And I'm not sure that is correct in the sense that it still comes out of your mouth. And some of the things
Completely.
Some of the things you've said, I just think are blatantly.
Well, let's do them.
So, okay. And so the thing that really fucking pisses me off is how he's just, it's like, it's the low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean? That he's just saying, oh, you know, that's misogynistic. You hate women. Can you explain to me why you hate women? This guy hates women. Oh, he hates women. Just like it could be manipulated to everybody here in the chat watching right now. People can be like, oh yeah, you watch this guy. He's a misogynist, and therefore you hate women. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's the low IQ shaming tactic that has been, it's been used up. It's been too used up. I would say this, bro. It's so crazy because this word has been so overused and men being demonized has been so overdone. I would say it's 2020 right now, right? 2022 right now. I would say 10 years ago, the average man would be more likely to help a random woman being assaulted in an alley 10 years ago than the average man would be willing to help a woman being assaulted in an alley present day. Just because men are so sick and tired of being vilified by women, they're like, fine, bitch, you want your equality? Save yourself. Do yourself. Like, fix your own tire. Pay your own bills. Do what you got to do. Like, fuck off. Don't drag me into your bullshit. Because, again, guys are just fed up. Guys are starting to fed up, and men have power too, and we have the power to walk away. Say, no, fuck this. I'm done with this bullshit. I'm not dealing with this anymore. I don't want to deal with this at all. And bottom line is, you're going to respect me or I'm going to walk. I mean, what would you guys say? Would you agree with me? How about I put that in the chat right now? Would you save a random woman in an alley getting mugged right now? You tell me. Okay? Because, I mean, God knows, that chick could, like, some of these chicks, if you would save them, they would turn around and be like, you know, oh no, this guy raped me or some shit. Like, it's just so unbelievable at this point that the lengths of that debauchery that these chicks would go to. I'll just put that in the chat and let's continue on with today's episode. But it's just low-hanging fruit. And you have to remember this. Mainstream media is dying, and therefore their control over the public is dying. They're trying to control us with social media. They're trying to control us with censorship. It's not working, okay? All the truth is getting out so quickly. Like, the next thing, like, the last thing they have to do is kill people, right? If you take a look at this, I don't know if you've noticed, but the person that was supposed to be investigating the Nord Stream sabotage, Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 sabotage investor, they just found that guy dead at his house. He was killed. Okay? I mean, oh man, it just cracks me up. They're losing control, and when in doubt, if a certain something that everybody injected is killing everybody, and if Nord Stream 1 and Nord 2 have been attacked, when in doubt, saber rattle for fucking nuclear war. There's a lot of insanity going on right now, guys, and they're losing control of the narrative. And you're gonna see, we're gonna see what happens, but they are definitely losing control of the narrative. That's for sure. Let's continue.
Let's hear them.
Let's go through some.
Sure.
Right? So you said this about Me Too stroke rape. This is probably 40% of the reason I moved to Romania. In Eastern Europe, none of this garbage flies. You go to the police and say, he raped me back in 1988. They'll say, well, you should have done something about it back then.
Yeah, so the point I was making was obviously at the height of the Me Too scandal, and also if we look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, there's been a lot of high-profile cases where men have been accused of things they did not do without evidence, and their lives have been completely and utterly destroyed.
Right.
When I say these things, people sit and say that, oh, he hates women. I don't hate women. I think rape is disgusting. I would take a stronger stance on rape than the British government. I think these people should face the death penalty. But to sit and say that women without evidence can go forward and just make up accusations against men, even though they've been repeatedly proven to destroy men's lives at will, is absolutely and utterly
What about a
asinine.
woman who was raped back in 1988 and goes to the police?
Then the man should face absolute and complete justice.
But do you understand that when that clip appears on TikTok as a clip, And all right,
as a clip, completely.
Okay, but it's still something that came out of your mouth. Do you accept that when that appears on TikTok, a lot of young, maybe not as smart as you, young men, right? Impressionable, teenagers, will read that and go, what's he saying here? Is he saying that rape doesn't exist?
No, I completely. I'm not going to sit here as...
So how do you derive rape doesn't exist from due process? And let's not forget, the woman that started the whole Me Too movement was the woman that was dating Anthony Bourdain when he killed himself. And the reason he killed himself because she was cheating on him. In addition to that, she was having sex with a 14-year-old boy. And they paid the family hush-hush money. Guess who paid that money? Anthony Bourdain. That's the woman that started the Me Too movement. It's so funny how nobody has a fucking memory.
As a professional and say that I can't be taken out of context. What I will say is that one small sentence
Shut up
taken
and
was
take
from
my
a
money.
1 hour video where I
Atlas Shrug 199 super chat. Been looking forward to this all week. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, bro.
explained that, of course, rape is disgusting. Of course, everybody should be punished for their crimes regardless of when they happen. But people are not perfect, male and female. And if you give women the opportunity to destroy men's lives without evidence, there's going to be a contingent of women who will do that. I'm trying to make a balance.
Bingo. And LF Third knows who I'm talking about. It's Asia Argento. Asia Argento, who I'm talking about. Look it up. Asia Argento pays hush money after she's sleeping with an underage boy.
It's a nuanced argument in a world where people have no attention span. They're going to take a few seconds, put it online, decide someone's good or bad, not be interested in the longer format video. And here I am. No, I'm certainly a person who takes personal responsibility. That's who I am as a person. But we live in a world now with TikTok videos 5 or 6 seconds long. There's no content.
Do you think women are the property of men?
No. The point I was making.
Why have you said that?
Again, see, he's just going for like these gotcha moments, you know? He's like, oh, gotcha, you know? You think women are the property of men? It's just, again, it's just, oh, God.
They are.
Because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle, and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the most religious country in the world.
So you do think that the woman becomes the man?
I think she takes his last name.
I mean, let's watch the clip that you said about this so that we can get it in context.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Absolutely.
But I've been married twice, as it turns out, and on both occasions, I didn't believe that the woman was being handed to me as chattel, as property.
Perhaps the way...
And then here he goes. He's fucking being Mr. Extreme. Oh, so you say, all right, so you're saying women are cows to be given away like property. This is why nobody likes your fat fucking ass, Piers Morgan. And this is why people hate the mainstream media. They hate you because you think we're fucking stupid and you blatantly misrepresent the people we like Andrew Tate. You blatantly misrepresent them. You try to manipulate reality and people fucking hate you for it. And that's why you're failing. That's why mainstream media across the board, viewership is dropping. Nobody gives a shit about this anymore. Everybody cares about watching people on YouTube. They want to watch real people who are relatable, who are based in reality. And this fat fuck is anything but that.
The reason I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now, that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it,
Shut up and take my money.
If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand.
So specifically on that point, I think my sister is her husband's property.
She took his last name. She married him. She wanted to join his family. She has said it herself.
Right. So she's
still a sovereign individual. She's absolutely not a sovereign individual.
Property means that the husband owns your sister.
Listen.
All right. Real quick, BJ Tucker, $20 super chat. Wow, big dono. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Love you so much. He says, John, thank you for continuing to call out Torsia. She's much more destructive to this space than ADJ ever was. Her wrench privileges need to be revoked for shadow banning longtime subscribers. F you, Torsia. Heartfelt, Jack Murphy style. Yeah, no, Torsia is going to continue to be she's going to continue to be blacklisted from this fucking community. She has no value. I have no idea what Rolo's doing. It's fucking terrible look. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. And, you know, her AMA with fucking Miguel was so bad. You know, she behind the scenes kind of pressured him into doing it. It was so bad we had to fucking delete the video. I do not like that chick. She's a fucking rat. She's fucking has no place to deserve. There's no place for her in this male self-improvement place. She is not married. She produces no value. All she does is circle jerk Rolo and give us a fucking terrible look. I don't know why she's here. I don't know why anybody else can't see that she's a fucking rat and bad news but me. However, hey, I'm usually ahead of the pack. So, bro, I feel you. I've said my piece. I've said it a million times. I don't like that bitch. She's fucking trouble. She's got a fucking purse full of prescription drugs. She's a pillhead. She's a nutbag. She's a manipulative. She made threats to me. I can't deal with it. And hey, I've made my peace. That bitch has no place in my house, in my life, period.
My friend, if we want to argue about this, we need to go back to the Bible, to the Quran. You need to argue with religious
No, I'm not talking about anything in the Bible or Quran. I'm asking
but that's what it says.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I think that if a woman marries a man and she decides to take his last name, that they have different roles and responsibilities within that marriage, and I believe that...
That's not the question.
I believe the father...
Don't behave like a politician.
The father hands her to the man.
Right, but don't be a politician, because I think you're a straight talker, right? You keep telling me you're a straight talker. I think my sister is her husband's property. Do you regret saying it like that?
I understand that with my newfound fame, perhaps it could be phrased differently. However, I still believe that a woman is given to the man in marriage. That's what I believe.
Yeah, but not as property.
No, the property is the word that other people use when they ask me the question.
But as an equal partner in a loving union, that's what marriage actually means. It doesn't mean that when you get married, the woman is given to you as a bit of chattel.
Agreed.
So why say it?
But that's the way that people ask me the question. People say to me, they ask the question.
Hang on, you can't blame people for asking you questions. Surely, if you want to be accountable for what you've said, you've got to own your responses, not blame the question.
I own the response.
Like me asking you a question now and you say something and then say, well, actually, I blame you for asking.
I understand, Piers. Piers, I understand. I believe the woman is given to the man. I believe she's given away by the father. I believe she belongs to the man.
So fundamentally, you do believe that a woman becomes a man's property at marriage.
I believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct.
Right. Oh, you see, that to me is misogyny.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
Right. But do you not understand why people think it is misogyny?
And then that is misogyny. That statement means you hate women. I just don't know how that equates. That's misogyny. You said this, therefore you hate women. How does that make any sense?
Misogyny.
I understand why some people can be very offended by what I say. What they do is they take a point like that and they ignore all the other points I make the other way around.
Yeah, but that's why I've repeatedly asked you about that line to see if you've changed your position. But the reality is you haven't.
It's not about changing positions. I'm a full-grown adult and I stick by the things I say and I'm responsible for them.
Which, by the way, is fine.
Absolutely.
But what you did say at the start of this little exchange, you said, you know, I wouldn't maybe say things the same way now that I did before I was famous. And yet, actually, you've doubled down and said exactly the same thing.
On certain points.
So that is what you believe. And that's my point.
Yes.
I'm trying to work out, look, I don't know you. We've just met, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out who Andrew Tate is and what you actually believe. I don't want to twist anything at all.
Then let me make it very, very clear to the camera. I believe a woman is given to the man in marriage. I believe that. I also believe a man has a duty to protect and provide for her. I believe a man should lay down his life if something happens or his wife's life is threatened. I believe that women and children first are on the lifeboats.
But men,
I believe that men...
But a man doesn't own a woman.
It's not, no. It's, okay.
Unless they literally buy them as a slave.
Well, obviously, we're not talking about that. We're talking about religious, biblical marriage. We're talking about something else.
Yeah, but
So now he's gone from women are cattle to you're owning women like slaves. I don't even know what to say.
Christian. I don't believe that I own my wife.
Do you believe your wife was given away to you when she took your last name?
I believe that there is a process where a father traditionally walks his daughter down the aisle and hands his daughter to this man, and they stand there and become a union of two loving people in a partnership. No, there's no ownership involved.
I didn't say ownership.
He's not selling.
See, SLV sees it already. He says, holy fuck, let the guest reply. Why do people watch this human garbage? He knows what he's doing. This guy is just a fucking fat fuck worm. He doesn't give a shit about Andrew Tate. He doesn't give a shit about doing anything but demonizing Andrew because Piers Morgan, the majority of his fan base, is a bunch of fat fuck women that just look like him. You know, it's just, that's all he's doing. He's catering to his audience. I'm actually going to show you a real quick clip, a little quick comparison here, okay? And this is Piers Morgan talking to Jordan Peterson, okay? So I'm just going to show you a difference here in this, okay? So here's Piers Morgan talking to Jordan Peterson, and you can see here, there's a big difference.
I don't know whose adventure you're having, but it's not yours.
On free speech, it seems to me, in my 57 years of being on this planet, that free speech has never been under more ferocious attack. Not in places you would expect, like authoritarian regimes, but actually in democracies. I never thought I'd come to a day in my lifetime where people were literally being fired or in some cases imprisoned for expressing honestly held opinions, even if I find those opinions grotesquely wrong or offensive.
You know, it's worse than that. People underestimate the significance of this because it isn't, we're not having a fight about who has the right to speak freely. That's nothing. That's a peripheral problem, even though that can be serious in and of itself. We're having a fight about whether or not your claim that free speech exists is nothing but a masquerade for your willingness to dominate and use power. And so if I was taking that tack, I'd say, it's all well and good for you to speak about free speech, but look, you're white and you're middle class and you're British and you're privileged and you have this thing.
Look how he's looking at him. He wants to bang him.
If I was taking that tack, I'd say, it's all well and good for you to speak about free speech, but look, you're white and you're middle class and you're British and you're privileged.
Look at this. This dude wants to bang for sure. Look at how calm he is. Look at how his jowls are not shaking all over the place.
And you have this theory about free speech that your ancestors derived, but the only reason they ever derived that to begin with is so they could exercise their power. There's no such thing as free speech. That's just a lie to mask a power claim. And that's a way worse cynical criticism of the notion of free speech than you can't speak because I don't agree with
I mean, it's a form of fascism, isn't it? I mean, these people...
It's worse than that.
The kind of, the ultra woke brigade out there, they categorize themselves as liberals, but there's nothing liberal about that mentality. When you have a cancel culture, which is driven by, if you don't agree with what I say, you're going to get shamed, vilified, cancelled, fired, maybe even imprisoned. That is actually what fascist regimes do to people, to their populace.
Yeah, but the fascists are more straightforward about it because they basically come out and say something like, shut up or we'll beat you.
Right.
Whereas the compassionate types who are narcissistic compassionate.
Okay, so that's how he was dick riding Jordan Peterson. Now let's go back to see how he's treating Tate.
The father of the bride isn't selling his daughter.
No, absolutely.
That's what property means.
She becomes a member of your family.
Is it?
I think we're arguing over semantics.
We're not, though, because fundamentally, I don't believe a man owns a woman. You do.
Well, I don't think a man owns any sovereign individual. I don't think we live in the world of slavery. I don't own any men or any woman.
Right.
Nobody owns
When
anybody.
you use phrases like property, that's what you imply.
I understand.
And so my point again is, you're a smart guy, right?
Correct.
There's no denying that. You're smart, you're a good talker. I've seen a lot of the stuff.
Oh, is that the Michael Cuckstein in the chat? Is that a real him? Hey, go ahead and send that super chat now, buddy. You can fake that on your profile, on your Instagram later there, big guy. Wow. Send in the big bucks. Send it like you paid Fresh and Fit to be on the show, big guy. I get to go on that show for free, by the way.
But what I don't think you quite fully understand.
No, I understand very well,
when
Piers.
young, impressionable people
I understand
who
that
are
very
not
well.
as smart see things like, I think my sister is her husband's property, yes, and you've just reaffirmed that belief. They think that they have the right to own women.
I understand that very well, Piers.
That's why people think you're a misogynist.
Completely. I understand all of this very well, which is why when you're saying I was backtracking, I'm not.
Do you have any regret, though, over the way you phrased this stuff?
Well, this is the point I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is, when I was not nearly as famous and I was making long format content, I was not sitting there anticipating I'd become the most Googled man on the planet and that a few seconds could be taken out of context. That was not my anticipation.
No, but it's still what you believed. It's what you believe now. So what's the difference?
It's not about, you're asking me, you're saying that young people who are impressionable.
If you said to me, look, Piers, honestly, I've had time to think about this and I wish I hadn't said it, I don't believe that. That's one thing. Actually, you've said the opposite. You said, actually, that's what I think, yeah.
I think that when
it doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman, I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I believe, and that's in my marriage. That's the circumstance I'm going to live under. If people want to live in a different scenario, that's completely theirs. Their prerogative.
You went on to say about authority over women. If I have a responsibility over her, I must have a degree of authority.
Yeah.
For the same reason, if I have responsibility over and people are going to use their mind, it's an example, an analogy. Responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority.
Yeah.
So you believe as part of your ownership or your property of the woman, you have authority over her.
No, I believe if you have
That's what you said.
I believe if you have
Shut up and
responsibility
take my
over
money.
something, you have to have a degree of authority or you can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means, again, that you're the boss.
Asan Haji Mohammed, €2, says Tate is less articulated than Jordan Peterson and lack RP. I guess that's red pill. Well, I mean, Tate is Tate is 1 year younger than me, and so he's 35. Our birthdays are both in December, so I'm approximately 1 year older than him, and you know, it just takes. I mean, Jordan Peterson is in his late 50s, right? Maybe early 60s, and so he has had a lot more time to learn how to articulate himself because he's a writer, he's a college professor, he's just had a lot more time.
Shut up and take my money.
To develop that skill set beyond Andrew, you know, and that I think that's the only difference here. But I do think Andrew was not granted the same courtesy Jordan Peterson was given, because Piers Morgan is absolutely a beta male. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. And beta males hate alpha males. And there's a certain amount of jealousy with Piers Morgan when he confronts and talks with Andrew Tate. In addition to that, Piers Morgan is able to hide and take like the cheap standpoint, like, oh yeah, well, you know, I'm part of the mainstream, and you know, we love trans people just like we do on this channel. We love gays and children, protect trans children. And, you know, we've got to protect the women because they're all being beaten at home by white right-wing extremist Trump supporters. Like, he just marches that line, and he has the big corporate machine behind him. That's the only thing behind him, though. There's no real substance behind this fat fuck. And that's the big difference, and that's why everybody hates him. Because if you go in the comment section of his own video, everybody hates Piers Morgan. And we're going to review the comments after this video.
The point I'm making, if you'll please let me finish at this point. The point I was trying to make was talking about the safety.
All right, let me just read this super chat. Soldier for Christ, we are at war. $5 super chat. Chattel, not cattle. Chattel is movable property, non-real estate. Piers is an a-hole, but he's using an antiquated word often associated with slaves. I mean, even worse, bro. Even worse. And then shout out to $5 super chat for coming in from New Horizons. Thank you so much for the super sticker and the $5 super chat. Love all you guys. Please smash the like button and share this right now with somebody so we can get this message out. It's really important that we share this, and you know, just kind of, we got to just keep on pushing forward and waking as many people up as possible. That's literally the only way we win, period. Appreciate it, guys.
Shut up and take my money.
She was walking alone at night, and I was saying, well, I wouldn't let my woman walk alone at night. And they said, well, you're not in charge of her. You don't get to decide what she does. I said, I understand, but if I'm responsible for her safety, and I'm the person who's burdened with making sure she's safe, I have to have the authority to say, don't put yourself in unsafe situations. The two things are linked.
Well, you don't have authority. You have you can absolutely have the right to say to the woman you're with, I don't think you should, but ultimately...
If she decides, then I can't force her.
Right, so authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority the authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do, and I'm responsible for
That's not what authority means.
Well, I'm not going to... If you think I'm going to lock somebody up in their room, is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority means.
I know what it means. I'm saying that if I
just a different description of what authority
means. If I have responsibility for her safety, then I have to have the authority to tell her not to do unsafe things.
Yeah, but authority means that you have some form of control over this woman.
I think you're trying to... What you're trying to do...
I'm only trying to get to what you think. Honestly, I am. I come with no agenda here at all.
I understand. And I'm explaining very, very clearly. If I have responsibility over said subject, I have to have authority over it. So let me say you have children, right?
Right.
You have responsibility for them.
No, I have legal authority over my children. That is very different to having legal authority over my wife or my female partner.
Completely, but the point I'm trying to make...
So you accept that?
I accept that.
Because you used the analogy of responsibility for a child.
My friend, these are very.
These are actually really important things.
They're important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds, so it's hard for me to actually explain my point.
Look at this guy. Does this guy not just make you sick to your stomach? I don't know. This guy makes me sick to my stomach. I'm just like, dude, shut your fucking obese, jowly, fat face up and let the man speak. He clearly ascended to most popular and most Googled man in the world. Something you never were, Piers. And he did it from the comfort of his home and a team of Romanians putting out TikToks. So you should just shut the fuck up, Piers, and let your guests speak.
The point I'm making here is very simple. You have children and you're responsible for their safety. So you're going to have authority to say, don't go out at night, perhaps because you want them to be safe.
I have legal authority.
You have a legal authority.
Yeah.
Legal authority. I'm saying that if I had a woman, and the question where you've raised this soundbite from, I was asked about protecting a woman, making sure she's safe. And I would say I wouldn't want her to go out at night on her own because I'm responsible for her safety. And someone said, well, you don't have authority over her to do that. And I said, well, no, I can't force her to stay inside. But if she were to ask me, how do I protect myself at night? I would say, well, you should stay inside. That's how you should do it.
I don't have an issue with what
So
you
we
just
agree.
Said. No,
it's the semantics.
No, it's not semantics. And this is where I don't think you quite get why there's a furore over what you say, with respect. Because the semantics point would be if we're saying the same thing in different ways, but we're not. I'm saying to you that when you say I have to have some authority over a woman, I say to you, you have no right to any authority over a woman. You do over a child if it's your child, because you are the legal appointed guardian of that child.
Understood.
You're not a legally appointed guardian or authority over your wife.
And so this is where, Piers doesn't get it, and probably why he has 2 failed marriages under his belt, right? Or excuse me, no, he's been married twice, but he's divorced once. And then behind the scenes too, Troy Francis has been at parties with Piers Morgan there, and Piers Morgan was hitting on younger women while he was at the party. So this guy can sit there and pretend to be one thing, but the reality is, look at this guy. Look at this guy. This guy is a fat fuck. He's a creep.
Shut up and take my money.
He's a weirdo, and he's just siding with the mainstream narrative because that is the safe thing to do. But the bottom line is this. When women are in a relationship with you, they do want you to take authority. That's why women say, be a man. Take charge. Be a man. Take the lead. Take the authority. How many times have you been dating a girl and you had to save her from doing something extremely fucking stupid? I can't even count how many times I've done that. Every single girl that I've dated, when she's left the relationship, she has left a better person. Every single girl. And that's part of having authority in the relationship, because you have to defer to somebody as the leader in the relationship. And a leader has authority. A leader has say. A leader has say in the direction of where the relationship is going. That's where boundaries come into play. But Piers doesn't know that because he's a fat fuck beta male idiot. I'm sorry if I'm being crass, but just this type of behavior is just so unfair and so unjust. And I know I'm not the only angry person in the world watching this and thinking this is unjust. If you're angry and you feel like this is unjust, can you put a 1 in the chat? If you completely disagree with me, please put a 2. I just want to see. I just want to see if I'm alone. Because if I'm wrong, I will change my ways. But I just don't think I'm wrong. I absolutely don't think I'm wrong.
For female partner.
Legally appointed, absolutely not. I agree. However, when it comes to things like personal responsibility or personal safety, men, largely by society, are accepted. We're the protectors and providers. We can sit here and pretend that in the world we live in, if me and my wife were walking down the street and men were to come up and try and attack us, I wouldn't be the one fighting. But we both know in reality I would.
Right.
I have a degree of responsibility to protect her. So if I have a degree of responsibility to protect her physically, then the point I'm trying to make is I will do my best to make sure she's never putting herself in unsafe situations.
Do you wish you hadn't used the word authority?
The
authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point.
It's not.
Piers.
Andrew, stop.
Piers.
Look, you see this jolly fat fuck, how he just keeps on interrupting him? I would have said something about it, and I would be like, dude, this interview's not going to continue if you're going to continue being a fat, interrupting fuck.
If a woman comes to me and says, I want you to keep me safe, she is handing me authority for her safety.
But do you understand the difference between having authority over somebody and somebody giving you permission to have authority.
Completely. I never said
one is consensual and one isn't.
But why are we...
That's actually not Myron's point. That's actually, I think Rollo was the one that said it. And you know, because you know, he used to be part of Rule Zero, and he learned a lot of stuff from Rollo Tomasi, and that Rollo was the one who originally said that that men are they have responsibility, but they don't have authority.
Are we pretending I do unconsensual things?
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority. And the point about
only if I'm responsible for her safety. If I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is that...
Yeah, and we're already getting shadow banned by YouTube. Just, you know, they're throttling the stream. They're pumping the internet down as usual. Like, okay, I'm just gonna show you guys. For you guys that are new, just so you understand what's happening with censorship and how like big tech totally hates people who tell the truth. Okay, so here it is. I'm just gonna play it right now. Check out. This is that's my live internet. Okay, I have fiber optic Tokyo-based internet. Is some of the fastest internet on the fucking planet, and you're telling me it's buffering? No, this is their new way, because you have to remember, Silicon Valley is run by all these sneaky and slimy little weaselly beta males, and these upload and download speeds are far fast enough to do everything that needs to be done on this stream. Okay, there's no reason why this stream should be having any kind of buffering at all. 170 megabytes per second and 10 megabytes per second for uploads. There's absolutely no reason this should be happening. I'll do it again. Watch. I'll just run it one more time. Just so you guys for full transparency. And you can see it's buffering and it's spinning right there because they are absolutely messing with my stream and messing with the quality of my internet. You know, it fluctuates here and there, but even these speeds like that are supposedly reporting in lower right now, still far more than fast enough to get everything that I need to be done on this stream done with utmost quality. Yet, you know, like I said, that's just their new level of censorship because that's the only thing they can do. They're losing control of the narrative, and you guys got to remain strong. You got to remain smart. You got to remain vigilant. You got to remain ready to fucking stay educated, get your money up, money muscles game frame, because that's who they're afraid of. They're afraid of men like you. They're afraid of guys like you right now who are lifting weights. You're not eating donuts. You're not eating shit. You're out there pumping weights. You're getting smarter. You're reading books. You're making investment. You're buying cryptocurrency. You're saying, fuck the system. Fuck this traditional boomer bullshit. Fuck this happy wife, happy life trash. Fuck all this shit. I've been lied to. I'm so angry. This is absolute fucking bullshit. I was promised a dream and I got nothing but a lie. And I'm tired of this shit. I'm going to learn this and figure it out on my own. And they hate that. They don't want you. They see somebody like me telling the truth. Boom. Let's throttle his stream. This stream had like 260 people watching it just like literally 5 minutes ago. And they buffered it down because they know the average person who is on the lower half of the IQ bell curve doesn't want to sit and wait 4 seconds to let the video properly load, and they click away. So there's that.
With her permission, I would like to have authority when we go out at night to protect her. That's a different
That was
thing.
always my position.
But that's not what you said.
But that was always my position, Piers.
So again, I simply say to you,
It is what I said, though.
Do you wish you'd phrased it a different way?
No, because we're talking about long format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure I'm safe. I said, well, then I have to make the decisions.
When an
which gives me
18-year-old
authority.
boy reads, I must have some authority over a woman, what do you think he thinks?
Well, I understand that, and I said this earlier when you tried to say I was backtracking, which I'm not doing. I understand.
No, actually, I'm not. I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not trying to gotcha you.
Cool.
I'm trying to work out exactly what you actually
I understand
think.
with massive fame comes massive responsibility. I understand that a percentage of the population are always going to take everything that's said by anybody out of context.
Would you change the wording of what you said?
No, I would just encourage people to watch my long format copy and understand it
Would
fully.
you tell an 18-year-old boy you don't have authority over women?
Absolutely.
You would say that?
Unless a woman comes to him and says, you're responsible for my safety, please make sure, keep me safe. Like
I
my
see.
woman
Now
says,
that
comes to
Andrew
me.
Tate, I can sign up to.
Well, then we agree.
Yeah, but I don't agree with what you said before.
Because you're taking a soundbite from a 2-hour
Yeah, but
conversation.
you haven't been taken out of context because I read you the entire sentence. It's very.
But you've
confusing.
ignored all the context around the sentence, my friend.
You can't ignore a sentence that says, I must have a degree of authority.
But you can when there's a 2-hour conversation where a woman is telling me if she makes me responsible for her safety and me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So yes, you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 20?
Do you respect women? What kind of fucking question is that? Think about that. What kind of question is that? Do you respect women? And then listen to the next question following up here.
25-year-old woman.
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking it?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this. In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say...
True. True. Very, very, very true. Okay? Let's just ask the audience, okay? Do you want a woman who has been through less dick or more dick? Let's just put that in the chat right there. Let's put more dick at the first one. Make it a little bit, you know, we'll bias it towards the negative. And less dick at the second one. You tell me. Let's just ask the chat. Let's just see. Let's see if Piers Morgan can continue to be fucking so far up his fat ass. Jesus fucking Christ.
Say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up.
And Andrew's 1,000% right. It's not friendly, it's not mainstream popular, but it's fucking 1,000% true.
That is misogyny.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a...
And that's misogyny, and that means
Shut
you
up
hate
and
women.
take my money.
How the fuck does that equate to hating women? Can somebody please explain that to me? How does that equate to hating women? I would love to know. How does having...
Shut up and take my money.
How does having preferences and standards equate to I hate women? That's like a woman saying, I don't want to date a guy who's 5'4". Oh, well, you're clearly misandrous. You clearly hate men. You have a preference, therefore you hate men. Right? Piers Morgan clearly has a preference for fucking Krispy Kreme. Does that mean he hates all salad restaurants? According to his logic, yes. Yeah, that's true. Shout out to Odin, 199 super chat, says F the shadow ban. Thank you so much. Brandon M, 199 super chat, just with the, he gives us the one. The Doctor Strange one. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
That would, well, first
of all, Andrew's right, and you're wrong, Piers. Second of all, the basis of fertility is, the basis of attraction is fertility. And the more youthful a woman is, the more fertile she is. Therefore, Andrew is objectively and scientifically correct. In addition to that, the more sexual partners a woman has, the less likely she's going to be able to pair bond, the more likely she's going to be able to not have a sustainable, happy marriage. And that's due to her being pumped and dumped, emotionally scarred, emotionally traumatized. But Piers has never gotten a woman based upon pure attraction. Look at the guy. He's a rancid, disgusting, fat human being. No woman has ever looked at herself and be like, oh my God, Piers, you're so sexy. No, they immediately thought status, and they thought money, and they thought, this is a good business move for me to like this guy, to fucking hook up with this dude. This is a solid move for my career. That's what Piers has got. That's the only essence of attraction this guy knows, period.
Firstly, even if that was the case.
Oh, my bad, Soldier for Super Christ. Oh, Soldier for Super Christ, my bad. Soldier for Christ. Let me scroll up. My bad, G. So sorry. I'm getting so much stuff. Okay. Soldier for Christ, we are at war. $10 super chat. I'm sorry, sir, that I missed your super chat. He says, in my opinion, Piers is confusing authority with tyranny. All authority is voluntary to an extent. Tyranny is always involuntary. Hence, we the people give the government authority, at least on paper. Absolutely. Fantastic comment, brother. Thank you so much. If I ever miss your super chat, guys, just hit me with the @ mark in the chat. If you don't want me to miss your super chat, click the join button below and you'll become a member. It gives you access to all the private emojis that I have In addition to that, I am able...
You have accepted the truth.
I'm able to see your name in the chat because it'll be highlighted in green. Let's continue on with Piers Morgan's stupidity. Keep in mind, we're only at the 20-minute mark, guys. There's still 1 more hour to go. Okay, and I told you this shit would get you frustrated.
That wouldn't be misogyny.
But what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
DeFreak, pair bonding is a total myth, dude. You are so hilariously wrong, bro. You really need to pick up a book and read it. If you think that pair bonding is not affected by the amount of dick a woman has been through, you're an absolute moron, and you really need to fucking get educated. I'm not going to coddle you here just because you're in attendance of my stream. My streams are for people who want to learn and want to get better, and you're irrefutably wrong. Okay? So you really just need to shut the fuck up and learn because you don't know what you're talking about. Smash the like button, smash your mouth shut, and let's continue.
Well, that's misogyny.
No, it's not.
Well, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, than ageist, perhaps, but misogynistic, absolutely.
Is that
not.
But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
So you don't think if you're saying slightly hateful things about a 25-year-old...
That's not slightly hateful.
Well, it is. You think you say that to a woman's face if she's 25?
It's not slightly hateful.
So you would go up to a 25-year-old woman and tell her exactly what I've just read out?
Why would I walk up to a random 25-year-old woman?
Because you said it in public on the internet, and it's been listened to and watched by millions and millions of young, impressionable boys.
Correct. There was a large panel. There was a conversation. There was hours long of conversation. There were feminists attacking men for toxic masculinity and attacking me and saying things. And I said things back which were going to...
Look at this dude. He just looks like a Rick and Morty character. I think what's Brejan in the chat makes a great statement. He says, men shouldn't be allowed to use the word misogyny against each other. Any man, okay, any man who calls another man a misogynist, you have to know that guy is still blue-pilled. He's probably obese, and he's absolutely still trapped in the fucking matrix, without a doubt.
But I think,
which you've done yourself a bunch of times.
I think a lot of allegations of toxic masculinity are not toxic.
Correct.
I do think that kind of sentence that I just read out, that paragraph, is actually toxic. If you genuinely mean that, and you say you wouldn't say it to a woman's face, but you said it in public about women of that age, I do think that's misogynist. And I think you probably do too.
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why it can be insulting.
You wouldn't say it to a woman's face?
Well, it depends. You're making out like I'm walking around the street going up to random 25-year-olds.
Well, effectively, you're doing it to tens of millions of people online. There's no difference.
Not at all. We're discussing a topic. We were discussing the ideal age of a man.
Should young boys, right, in their teens, are you comfortable that they would have that mindset? Be honest.
I think that young boys in their teens lack life experience. They lack nuance. And they need to be very, very careful what they're digesting online, whether it's my content or anybody else's.
Yeah, I think you know for a fact millions of them are digesting exactly what you're saying.
Completely. The entire internet, to a degree, I think any subject you can find, there's going to be a whole heap of content.
I come back to the Joe Rogan thing, Andrew. Is that a lot of what you say, I agree with.
Yeah.
Right? I do, genuinely. I've written a lot of stuff you said. A lot of the stuff you talk about, I think, yeah, he's got a good point, right? So we agree about a lot of things. But when I read that kind of thing, I'm like, how much of that is you? How much of that is some act? Do you regret saying stuff like
Shut up and take my money.
Do you see it as weakness to admit you shouldn't have said something like that?
No, I don't live with regret. I think what's happened.
Shout out to Dwayne Rhodes, $5 super chat. He says, pair bonding is real. Big part of breastfeeding. It supports the bond with the mother and the child. Yes, oxytocin, correct. Leads to another topic as to why they push formula. Exactly. All right, the freak, you're retarded, bro. You're getting timed out. You need to sit in the dummy box and reflect on your ignorance.
Happened is that, like I said, long format content, arguments with feminists, arguments with the toxic masculine crowd, arguments with the left, and they're going to take a small clip, small sentence from ours, and they're going to try and paint me as a villain.
But I'm not left or right.
I don't know what you are, Piers.
Exactly. That's my point. No, but that's my point.
And I understand. And you're doing exactly as I knew would happen on this interview, which is because you're a busy man. You're not going to watch hours and hours and hours of video.
Actually, I have watched hours and hours of video, and I'm going to come to the...
No, he hasn't. He's lying. He is not. He absolutely has not.
stuff where I agree with you, and I'm going to come to the stuff about your censorship, which
Sure.
I have issues with. So this is, it's a long interview, right?
Sure.
I just thought off the top, you said to me, and you were quite bold about it, well, go on, then let's go through these.
And you should keep going. I will sit here and stand by what I said. I believe that
on that, I've just read to you then.
Yeah.
Do you wish you hadn't said that?
I understand how it's been misconstrued. I understand how it's been weaponized against me. Do I regret it because it's been weaponized and used against me? Well, that's slightly annoying.
That's not why I want you to
Did I
regret.
at the time mean what I said in the context of the conversation, which obviously you're not familiar with and the people at home are not familiar with? No, I meant what I said.
The 25-year-old women, they've just talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up.
Well, there's a whole bunch of context and conversation around that's been missed, and I
don't
encourage
think I'm missing much context.
Well, I encourage people who are interested to go watch it.
Right, but I mean, I've just read out 3 sentences on the bounce there. I don't think there's any context I'm missing. I mean, you've made it pretty clear what you think about the difference between 18 and 90-year-old women.
I wasn't
and
talking about
26-year-olds.
myself, even. I was talking with a Muslim guy who was on the panel, and he was explaining how youth is very valued in most parts of the world, and why virginity is valued in most parts of the world. The feminists were arguing against it, and I was sitting there, actually very much like you, a mediator between the two, explaining why in most of the world still today, perhaps not in the Western world, virginity is coveted, youth is coveted in most of the world, and throughout all of human history. And I was sitting there making the point, explaining why in certain parts of the world they think how they do,
Well, in large parts of the world,
even though it's very different to the Western world. So I was making a point, mediating between two groups very similar to yourself. The conversation has been misunderstood. They've taken this clip of it and it's been weaponized and used against me. I understand that is because I am now the most famous Google person on the planet. It's inconvenient, sure, but I'm definitely not a danger to women in any regard. I date women 25, 26, 27 years old all the time. None of them are offended by the things
I don't
say.
think you're a danger to women.
Of
I
course
think
not.
I think the danger, if it concerns you, the danger is the influence you have on young men to have this kind of mindset about women. And that's really where I'm trying to get to what you really believe. And how
The mindset that Andrew has is a traditional mindset that these powers that be have been trying to suppress since the dawn of, I would say, the women's liberation movement, right? And really was just not really women's liberation, it was women's enslavement. It's funny how they decorate new forms of slavery as freedom. Like, you know, I was watching a clip the other day from the movie Carrie. You ever see that movie Carrie? I know Dan Sparks, he was like, you know, he was in his early 40s when that movie came out because he's like 600 years old. But shout out to you, Dan. But
Shut up and take my money.
But the movie Carrie, it was 1976, and this opening scene where they're all playing volleyball, and you look at all these American girls. They're skinny, they're feminine, they have long hair, they're cute, they act like ladies. You know, it is real big difference into what's happened right now. And these women have been lied to, they've been manipulated, and they've been tricked into entering the corporate slave machine, because that's exactly what it is. More taxes, more slavery, more misery, more unhappiness, more broken families, more stress, more drugs, more prescription drugs given to them. I mean, the system is absolutely destroying these women, and they've bought this lie hook, line, and sinker. It's only now that a few of these women are starting to wake up and have positive voices, like Allie, Real Femme Sapien, like Pearl from Just Pearly Things, okay? Like the girl, Layla Harpy or whatever, I forget her name, but she interviewed Andrew Tate as well. Some women who are smart and also surprisingly attractive are starting to wake up. So, excuse me. I mean, the cat's out the bag, and the people who are going to suffer are the people that are going to be wiped out because they're low IQ. But the truth is getting out. But I mean, Piers is trying to defend this bullshit statement, and he's trying to like demonize Andrew for speaking the truth. There are women coming out and writing about the downsides of the sexual revolution. It's women. Women are coming out writing articles that I regret being a slut. That's what's happening.
how much you've just shot off because you think it's like entertaining and you haven't really given it much thought. And whether now you're...
Oh yeah, let me read a super chat. Gabo D, thank you so much for that $10, my friend. $10 super chat. I love how everyone loves to bring up their concern about young boys, but for 2 decades have not given a fuck about boys. True. Now Andrew's big and boys are done being wage slaves. Now we're concerned. You know why? You know why, bro? And I'm gonna use a very kind of like a kind of like very edgy statement. But the bottom line is this: the slaves are starting to learn to read, and they're realizing, oh shit, I'm a free man. I don't belong to anybody. I have rights. I have equality. And guess what? I don't like what's going on here, and I'm gonna take my ball and I'm gonna go home. Because men have rights too. Men have equality as well. Why do you think they're pushing all this stuff? Why do you think that absolutely so many men are just sick and tired of being disrespected and shit on and just like guys are just tired of being taken for granted. Men around the world are fed up. We are tired. We are absolutely tired of being taken for granted. We're absolutely tired of dealing with bullshit. And for what? For what purpose? Because they know we're the only ones that can stop them. Please name one revolution that was led by women. I'm waiting. Please let me know. They don't want us empowered. They don't want us knowing the rights. They don't want us knowing our own ability. Anything that is
Shut
done,
up and take my money.
Anything that is done to make men fatter, dumber. So let's think: pornography, marijuana, video games. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love marijuana and I love video games, but I have earned that shit. But I'm talking about guys who overdo it. Okay, booze. Think about during the pandemic. The pandemic, a health-oriented situation. Alcohol stores and marijuana shops were open, but gyms were closed. Think about that for a second. Just think about that. Does it make any sense? Konstantinos Monoyos, $10 super chat. Nothing to say. Thank you so much, brother, man. Appreciate you. All you guys that donate. Seriously, I want to just say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's not because I need the money, but it's like I understand the gesture. I understand that you guys are working hard for your money as well. I understand you guys are real men, and you're agreeing with me and you're supporting me, and that means a lot. And I just want to say, honestly, thank you so much, because I know what it's like to be where you guys were. I'm just like you.
You're a bit older, and you've had all the fallout, where the part of you is thinking, actually, if I had, as Joe Rogan says, if you hadn't said stuff like this, you'd probably still be on all these platforms. You'd be massively more popular, massively more famous, massively richer. So I'm really just trying to get to, on the blatantly misogynist stuff, do you just wish you hadn't said it?
With great power comes great responsibility. It was certainly said before the great power came. It's inconvenient to a degree. However, like I said at the time, with the context of the conversation, I know that I'm not saying things which I believe to be detrimental to the world. However, they've been misconstrued and they've been misunderstood.
If a 25-year-old woman was watching this, would you say, I'm sorry for saying that?
Well, I wouldn't want anyone to be offended by anything I say. But I say things I say things that offend. And this is the thing that's interesting, Piers. Please let me finish.
Yeah, but you're behaving like a politician. Yeah, but hang on. You could say I'm interrupting.
You do.
But you're answering a different question to the one I asked you. So, as an interviewer, you're behaving...
Sure.
Okay, you accept that. Let's accept we both got on. Okay. So, again, my point is simply, if a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments, would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world...
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not allowed.
Why is wearing a full burqa seen as a negative thing? That's fucking racist, right off. Like, that is legitimately racist. You see this Westerners really are the most racist people in that sense, where they're like, oh my God, look at this barbaric culture. They have different rites and rituals than us. You know, they don't allow their children to go get drag queen story time read to them by sexual offenders. Wow, what a bunch of barbarians. Think about how pompous and arrogant that is. Oh, these women wearing the burqas, they're all enslaved and they're just victims to a barbaric patriarchal culture. Really? Really? Have you been to Saudi Arabia? One of the richest countries in the world?
To drive cars.
That's nothing to do with me.
But is that the kind of world for a woman that you?
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
You're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an excuse.
Is that there are parts of the world where this is fine?
My friend.
So my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where...
You don't think it's fine?
The reason
This isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable...
Is that a truth, then?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about. It's not a truth I created.
Hang on. You're doing it again.
You see, Piers just refused to accept the reality that the more dick a woman has been through, it fucks them up, man. There are women who will tell you this shit. There are women who sit around and cry and regret their high body count. This is not some, like, you know, coordinated misogynistic attack against women across the globe. This is women agreeing with this as well.
Again, what do you mean that's a truth in other parts of the world? That's what you said. It's not, you're not talking about another part of the world. You're talking about what you believe is the difference between 18 and 90-year-olds and 26-year-olds.
I was talking about...
It's your belief.
I was talking about what the people on the panel believe the difference is.
So what do you think the difference is?
I think the difference is age.
What's the difference then?
Well, then a 26-year-old's older than a 19-year-old.
And so you stand by what you said about talking to the guys, being to the club more times, being effed to dump more times. Well, you believe that or not?
No, there's plenty of 26-year-old women who have been with one man or virgins,
right.
Of course.
So you don't believe that?
I don't think that the age is the only thing that's going to decipher how many men and women...
Right, so if you don't actually believe what you said, just say sorry.
It's not about not believing what I'm saying. It's about you understanding that there's large conversations going on.
I'm just reading back stuff you've said.
I know
and I'm asking you, do you believe it?
I believe that it's more likely a 26-year-old's had more partners than a 19-year-old.
Right. You don't know that.
I don't know that. You're right.
It's more likely, Piers, you fucking fat moron. This guy is such a disgusting, creepy weirdo. And women would agree with me fucking hand over fist. I mean, there was just no way a woman would not agree with me on this. This guy is a gross, fat, creepy man. He's manipulative and people know it. And like, dude, and this is why nobody watches his show. This is why his ratings are fucking in the garbage and they're consistently dropping. Nobody cares and nobody wants to hear lies. Where people are sick and tired of it.
Right.
In fact, there can be absolutely no evidence for that whatsoever.
Completely agree.
So why say it? Why stigmatize all 26-year-old women?
It's not about, we're repeating ourselves here.
We're not really. I'm just trying to get to what you actually believe.
I believe that men find youth attractive in general. I believe that...
Oh, and look at that. Bingo. Here we go. Survey says, look at that. It took me 2 seconds to research it. 8 women that refused to allow Piers Morgan off the hook after being targeted by him. Okay. Dude, guy is like that's one article, right? And then if we take a look at some more articles here.
Shut up and take my money.
He's been under attack for like women coming out of nowhere saying that he's been fucking a creep, and there's like sexual harassment charges against him as well, or allegations against him as well. Really super, super, super creepy, and I'm not surprised at all. Soldier for Christ is back with another $5 super chat. He says, it's not Andrew isn't answering questions. It's that Piers wants a specific answer Tate isn't giving, and Piers is so triggered his son's like Tate. Exactly. Who are they going to look up to? Fucking fat Piers Morgan? Oh, Dad, I want to be a fat fuck just like you. Can you imagine if your dad was a big, jolly, fat fuck and you're like, oh, Dad, I just want to be a fat pig like you? Think about that.
In the context of the conversation.
25-year-old women aren't.
Dude, you know, obviously you guys know, like, I would say, look at Piers and think about who would you want to be like your father figure. Piers or somebody like Omni-Man, okay? Omni-Man is like the perfect Chad dad. He's like Jonah Jameson on steroids and like with superhuman strength. That is the bar for like a respectable father. This fat fuck, who can respect him?
Old.
I agree with you. They're not, especially I'm old. I'm a lot older than that. The point I was making was part of mediating a panel, a conversation between feminists and some Muslim guys.
I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
good.
But
So you understand why I said the sentence.
But as far as I know, you weren't espousing what a Muslim man might think. You were espousing what you think.
I was espousing what the people on the panel.
And Piers Morgan has always been an ugly weirdo. I mean, even when he was young, look at this guy. This guy was not dropping panties. He was not a panty dropper at any point in his life. Look at this guy. You're going to tell me this guy, girls were lining up like, oh, Piers, you're so attractive. Like, you could see the beta creepiness in his eyes. Look at that. Creep, bro. Giga creep. Giga creep. Any guy that goes so hard on the far left side of things is super suspect. That's sneaky fucker game. That's a guy who's never got it. I mean, dude, you have to have like a good set of spiritual eyes to really see past it. But this guy is total creep. Total weirdo, and he is totally jealous of Andrew Tate. That is why this attack on him is so one-sided, unfair, and flat out disgusting. This flat out disgusting. This guy has never been attractive his entire life. Look at this. Look at this guy, bro. Just creep. Gross. Like I can't find a single picture of this guy where he looks relatively handsome. Just gross, dude. Giga gross. Giga gross, mate.
Panel believed.
But you were saying what you think.
I feel like you're trying to pin me down.
If it's not what you believe, just say I don't believe that.
What part wouldn't I believe?
Well, you tell me which part you don't believe. There's the sentence. Which part would you now say you don't believe?
So, I believe that 25-year-old women perhaps have had, because they've been alive longer, maybe have had more partners, but I don't believe that makes them a bad person.
Right. But you understand that the way you phrased it makes every 25-year-old woman feel a bad person.
No, I don't think so.
Of course you do. You're not stupid, Ad. Come on.
Piers.
Andrew, you're not stupid. You know what that sounds like to any 25, 26-year-old woman.
Completely. And
right? So you have maligned every 25, 26-year-old woman with that statement. And I'm simply asking you, to all those who are not of the type of women that you've described it, are you sorry?
I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I say. I want to be a positive force in the world. I don't want anybody to hear what I say and make them feel bad about themselves. I want all people to live righteous and good, whether they're male or female. And anybody who's...
You lead a righteous life?
I think I do, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You boasted openly of having 6, 7 partners at once. So is that righteous? I'm not taking there's no moral view from me. Simply asking you what you think righteous means.
I think righteous is living true to your heart and knowing that you're doing good by people, not snaking anybody, not lying to anybody. I know I live a very righteous life.
Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
How many times?
Plenty. I believe in love between men and women.
Real love, you know, where it's...
I believe,
how many times would you say?
Enough. I believe men and women are a beautiful union.
That's Omni-Man for people who have been asking, like, who's Omni-Man? Okay. That's Omni-Man. That right there. That is like textbook Chad dad. Okay. Who is more likely to look like Omni-Man when they're in their 50s? Piers Morgan has already dropped the ball.
Union. I think we're slightly different, but when we work together, we're the most powerful force in the world.
How many women have you loved?
I don't know, Piers. A few.
Give me a ballpark. 5.
More than you fat fuck.
5, 10, 20?
Let's say...
You don't forget how many people you've been in love with.
Let's say 10. I mean, I've been in love, and I certainly believe that men and women, when they work together, it's the most beautiful force on the planet. I believe in family. I believe in children. I believe in...
If you believe in family and children and love, why are you single?
I'm not single.
Well, you're not married, something.
Well, if I was married, the last thing I would do is advertise it to the feral psychopaths on the internet. So
I'm not a feral psychopath.
Well,
you called me friend earlier.
Can be debated, Piers. But the point the point I'm making as a whole is that all of these...
Do you want to get married is my point?
No, but let's please for a second.
You don't or you do?
Let's please for a second, because you've interrupted me so many times I've failed to...
Well, actually, I've only interrupted you, just to be clear, when you've actually answered a different question.
Cool. Well, then, on all these points you're making...
And you've admitted that.
On all these points you're making, on repeat, you're taking these sentences, and on repeat, you're weaponizing them against me.
I'm not weaponizing anything.
Okay, it's fine.
No. You're weaponizing the weaponizing, which doesn't exist.
No problem.
But you said to me, come on, bring it.
You see, look how many times he's interrupting this guy. It's just like, it's so unwatchable. Just a super snaking, lying, blue-pilled beta male who has he has George Soros's hand so far up his ass, he doesn't realize how much of a puppet he really is.
Read out all the things that you think are blatant misogyny. All I've done is literally read out all the things we identified from all the research that I thought were blatantly misogynist. And giving you the chance to respond. And the only time I've interrupted you is when you've tried to answer a completely different question.
Understood, Piers. But these things were said in large context where often I'm talking about how, for example, on the same podcast where you've read one of them sentences from, I was talking about how it's a man's duty to die by a woman. And the guy asked me, he said, if 10 men with knives attacked your woman, wouldn't you just... I said, yeah, I'd stand and die. I'd never just run away because I have a duty as a man. I must...
Oh, shout out to the new subscriber, Corey Cassell. Sorry if I mispronounced that, brother. Corey says, $20 super chat, huge donation for a first-time watcher. The blue pills are like a broken record. They just reset. Even after all the daytime shows in the 90s that proved red pillars 100% right, they reset and deny the truth again and again. You are not the father. Exactly.
I must die on the spot to protect her honor and my honor. I'm talking about a man having responsibility to his duties. I'm talking about the old traditional ways of masculinity. And what happens is a few sentences from such a long conversation is taken and used against me.
I understand that.
So I want you to understand that I'm talking about protecting and providing for women.
We got another donation. Thanks so much to brother Gabadee is back. $10 super chat. Piers is so condescending in this interview, he says in quotations, saying that, Andrew, you're smarter than that. Or when he's spitting, Andrew, I'm over here. Oh, man, I would have decked the guy. MLD, thank you for everything you do. I was getting mad, too, when I was watching this interview. And I think that's part of Piers's strategy. Because anytime these people interview you on their show, it's not to do you good. It's to do you harm, except for people like Jordan Peterson, who is, like, relatively mainstream friendly. And it's funny because... later in this interview, you're going to see Piers Morgan take quite the low blow. He's going to be like, are you transphobic, Andrew? But he doesn't ask Jordan Peterson that one time, even though Jordan Peterson, to this day, is still on a timeout from his Twitter account because he misgendered Elliot Page, who was former actress. I forget. She's so fucking irrelevant. I forgot her name. She was in Juno. And her best role ever was when she played Black Cat in X-Men: Days of Future Past. That was her piece de resistance. That was it. Other than that, that's what he got in trouble for. And guess what? Piers didn't say anything like that whatsoever. Oh yeah, Ellen Page, who is now Elliot Page, who has hacked off her tits.
I'm talking about a man making sure...
Do you want to get married?
No, but we have to all feed into each other, Piers. I'm talking about
protecting... It's not a hard question.
No, but I'm talking about protecting and providing for a woman. I'm talking about a man being responsible for her safety.
I understand.
So, of course, I believe in men and women. Of course, I believe in love. Of course, I believe in marriage. Of course, I believe in family.
No, but
the idea that I don't believe in these things is crazy.
I didn't ask you if you believed in it. I asked you if you're going to get married.
One day, absolutely.
You'd like to.
If I'm not married already, I will be married one day. If I'm not.
Well, you might be secretly married.
I could be married, correct.
Why would you not tell me either way?
Why would I advertise to the feral psychopaths of the world who have tried their very best to destroy me for an opinion about my private life and the things that are most sacred to me? Why would I do that?
If you said you were married, everyone would hate you?
I don't know, but people hate me. It's about me understanding that I'm a hard target, but I am very, very protective of the people I care about.
Right. But you believe in the concept of marriage?
Completely. That's what we were talking about the whole time.
What do you think?
We talked about a man giving a woman away. Okay. I believe in marriage more than anybody. In fact, I believe in marriage no, please. Okay. I believe in marriage in the traditional sense. I believe a man has a duty to stand up and be a real man. I believe that the problem with the world today that we are facing is that not enough men are sticking to the age-old ways of masculinity. I believe that me standing up and saying a man must protect a woman and provide for her, so he needs to make sure that she's safe. He needs a degree of authority to protect her.
I have no problem with...
But people do have a problem with it. That's the world we're in now.
Andrew, I'm over here.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with what you just said. Here's where my problem comes, right? There are a lot of clips of you floating around on the internet, as you know. One of them has you saying, bang out the machete, boom in her face.
Oh, God. And then this is totally taken out of context. This is totally taken out of context. First of all, Andrew Tate was doing this in jest. This was a comical thing. Okay, he was making a joke, and here, just take a look. Listen to how he how Piers Morgan frames it. First of all,
grip her by the neck, shut up, bitch. In another, you say slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. When people see those clips and hear you say those things,
agreed.
Well, I don't think that. It's not hard to misunderstand it.
It is.
You might say that it's consensual. Other people would say, whether it's consensual or not, that's a very ugly way to talk about women.
Completely. Now let's
hitting them with machetes.
No, watch the whole video. It's a girl coming at me.
So, and again, Piers claims that he has watched the entire video, but he's like, oh, I've watched hundreds of hours. No, you haven't, because if you watched it, you would understand the context. Speaking of context, let me tell you something real quick. So, there's 300 people watching live right now, and there's 231 likes. Guys, I just got to play the YouTube game. I need those likes to go to 300 likes, or I'm playing a commercial. You have 30 seconds to get those likes up to 300 in 3, 2, 1. You got 30 seconds. Go ahead. I'm waiting. I could be here all day. 256. Let's go. Just 44 more to go. 44. 261. Come on. You got 17 seconds left. 267. Let's go. We got to get to 300. 274. Oh, well, looks like the chat has lost. You guys have lost at 287. You got to watch a commercial. Today's episode, we're going to get right back to that, but I want to tell you about a new coaching program that I have called the Money Muscles Game Monthly. What this is a coaching program dedicated to helping you get your dating and money right as soon as possible. If you want more women in your life and you want more money in your life, this is the coaching program for you. It's a very simple program. On the second and fourth Sunday of every month, we start a live group coaching session on Zoom at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This allows you to network with other men on the same journey of self-improvement as you. It provides access to millionaire mindset training from me and a group that will keep you accountable throughout the year. If you're having trouble with your dating life, girls are flaking, you're not getting matches on apps, you're not being able to keep girls around, I can help you with that. If you're not happy with your job, you're not happy with your career, you're not happy with the promotions you're getting or the direction of your skill set in general when it comes to money, I can help you. I have taken myself from poverty to the upper echelons of financial success. I can do the same thing for you. In addition to that, you get access to a Telegram chat, so you have direct access to all members, and you guys can kind of keep tabs on what's happening in regards to advancing yourself in dating and also advancing yourself in financial aspects of life. The Telegram chat is going to be highly moderated, so there's not going to be a lot of nonsense being put in there, spam, complaining, none of that. We don't have time for that, okay? Especially if you want to get to the top levels of success. We have no time for complainers, okay? So the chat is going to be highly moderated, okay? And then finally,
I want to let you know that this is limited to only 100 people. After 100 people, the group will be closed and there's going to be no more room for access, okay? So this is only $150 a month, and you can sign up by going to modernlifedating.com/monthly. This sold out last year at 150 members, so we're actually reducing it because I just can't give myself away to people so much. I'm getting busier, but if you want this premium access to me, go to modernlifedating.com/monthly. Sign up today. You're gonna get an email sending you the Telegram link to join, and then the Zoom links will be sent out through Telegram so everybody is alerted in a timely manner. Thanks so much, and let's get back to today's video.
All right, we're back. I've told you guys, I don't make the rules around here. You gotta smash like. If you don't smash like, the video doesn't get out, and then the whole world stays blue-pilled. What are we gonna do? We're in this together. I gotta show up every single day and put on the production. I've been sitting here for an hour and a half. Okay, I've only gotten $100 in super chats. Not that I mind, but I'm just saying it's not like I'm sitting here doing it for the money. And I appreciate everybody who's donated. But you see what I'm saying? Like, you guys gotta smash like. Speaking of which, we just had the coaching last night. It was really good. We had a really solid session, 2 solid hours. We did reviewing a lot of different things. We had a cybersecurity expert come in, talk about how guys can get jobs in cybersecurity, and within 1 year of getting their education done, getting jobs, entering at a salary, remote work, $80,000 to $90,000 per year, with salaries upwards of $300,000 a year. Very common. As you know, the cybersecurity field is completely understaffed, and they're in absolute dire need of people who are ready to do the work. That being said, if you're interested in learning more about this, go to modernlifedating.com/monthly. You'll get immediate access to the Telegram chat, as well as monthly coaching calls. Let's go back to the video.
Me with a machete and me saying, here, slap the machete out of her hand. She's attacking me. So you don't understand. This is the exact point.
I do understand.
No, people don't watch them in full. And this is actually what's interesting. And please don't interrupt me on this point. Social media has changed in modern times. YouTube 5 years ago was 5, 6, 7, 8 minute long videos. Now we have TikTok, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, YouTube shorts, Instagram stories. Now anything you produce that's long form is cut down to very, very short form. They're interested in clicks, they're interested in engagement.
Of course.
They find
But
the
you
most
benefited from all
they
that.
find the most controversial clips they can
Andrew,
on purpose.
You benefited from all that.
Everybody benefits from social media views.
And so he's talking about what Andrew said with what he was going to do if a woman, like he says, you think, actually, I'll just play it for you. Here, take a look.
Any room I'm in my
Okay, take a look here.
my house, I can produce a weapon. A lot of people ask me, well, Andrew, why do you have a machete next to your bed? And my answer is simple. Why wouldn't I have a machete?
Shut up and take my money.
Why don't you have a machete next to your bed? Some little pussy-ass dude once said to me, yeah, but if it's next to your bed, what if you, like, upset a girl and she catches you cheating and gets a machete? Bro, there's no female alive, even with a machete, that would stand a chance against the immense power I possess. Woman do. Slap the machete, slap her in the face. One hand, machete, and then backhand. I perfected this in pimp school. When I got my PhD, we had to practice if a girl comes at you, you cheater, you're cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and then grip her up by the neck. Like, shut up, bitch!
Okay, and then actually it continues. It continues. Let me see if I can find the full context video. And then he says this right here.
Have you ever seen a woman try and do anything competently? Like, imagine a girl pick this up. If I pick this up, you ain't fucking with me. I'd have my left hand, I'd still like jab, I'd fucking swing low, take your fucking knee out. You ain't gonna see it coming. What would a woman do? Slap the machete, slap her in the face. One hand, machete, and then backhand. I perfected this in pimp school. When I got my PhD, we had to practice if a girl comes at you, you cheater, you're cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and then grip her up by the neck. Like, shut up, bitch! Her panties get wet. Machete's on the floor, her panties are all wet. You go, fuck her. That's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. These are the basic moves of pimping. Fucking some little amateur. What if a girl...
And that's fucking hilarious. clearly the context is a joke. It's humor. It's hilarious. And that's what people want. People are not going to like going around looking for women who have machetes to slap the machete out of their hand and be like, oh, come here, bitch. Now I'm going to rape you. Like, it's common sense. This is the same reason why big comedians like Jerry Seinfeld refuse to go to college campuses. And the very essence of cancel culture that this clinically obese moron claims to be against, this is the exact problem that's wrong with mainstream media right now. This guy, who is a snake pretending to be pro-speech, who is pretending to be a libertarian, which he's not. This guy is an agent of the Matrix. This guy doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about the plight of men. He doesn't give a shit. He's an old boomer who's out of touch with reality. He's manipulating a story so he can get outrage clicks and get views. That's it. This fat fuck is in it for one thing and one thing only. His own fat, disgusting self. Period.
Do you?
Was it The Hustler? What is it
I had an online school.
Cool.
Right. If you watch hundreds of hours like you pretended to say you did, right? You watch hundreds of hours, but guess what? Oh, you don't know his most popular product? Everybody in the chat, I don't even have to say the name of his product. And my chat is so educated, they can tell you what the name of the product was. I know what the name of the product. He can't even get it out of his mouth. But if you ask him what a number one was at McDonald's, he's got that right off the top of his head. He's like, oh, that's a Big Mac with fries, and I could get a Coke with that, and then I like to get a McFlurry, extra Oreos on top. This guy is reprehensible. Simon Thompson, you're the local British Chad in the chat right now. Simon, what do the British people think of Piers Morgan? Is he accepted? What's the deal about this guy? Because I just can't stand this guy. He is just insufferable fat fuck.
Hustlers University.
Right. And their whole job was to promote your clips, make you rich and famous. So you've benefited from this system, the one you now profess to hate. You've benefited from
I never said I hated it.
You've clickbaited like the best of them.
I never said I hated it. I'm saying what happened. I don't hate it. I don't hate social media. I think it's a very powerful force. I don't hate the social media. I'm saying
the point is, I think you can talk, you can talk to girlfriends of yours, maybe a secret wife, I don't know. It's entirely up to you. Or two. Maybe you've got 10 wives, that's your business. I don't care, right? My only thing is, I don't care what you do in private. If it's consensual between you and another woman, you can do what you like, right? It's your life. I believe in freedom and liberty. It's when you say it in public, it's the influence that this kind of thing has on young men.
Agreed.
Right? And I speak to someone with 3 sons, right? Who are, by the way, they're intrigued by you. They're fascinated, right? You're a big thing in that world of TikTok and so on. So they all are aware of you and what you say. So they're all looking. And when they see things like the machete thing, I get the context, because I'm a 57-year-old guy who's been around the block a bit, and I can get what you said, and you responding to a particular scenario which you'd created where a woman...
But it can be misunderstood.
I understand. So my point to you is, given that you know it can be misunderstood, do you regret saying things like this on camera where it can be disseminated?
Wow. Simon Thompson says they think he's the UK Ellen, and Ellen is a tyrant. And then Commando, who is a moderator, also a British man in the chat, he says the UK does not like him. I personally do not like his content. I mean, hell, that makes 2 of us right there. That's me as well. What's going on here, YouTube? I'm gonna slap YouTube like it's a woman with a machete. Uh-oh, time to get canceled.
By less intelligent young males who think that is actually what they should be doing to women.
And finally, we get to the point of the issue, which is the point I tried to make at the very beginning. When I made a video before I was famous that got 500 views, me being concerned that 1% of people will misunderstand it was not relevant. Where you start getting 5 million views a video, 50 million views a video, 1% of people misunderstanding
it doesn't change what
no, it doesn't. But it becomes a much larger problem.
I understand.
So with great fame comes great responsibility.
Right.
So
I agree.
Would I, now that I'm famous,
yes.
do I say things the same way as I did back before I was famous? Absolutely not.
Right.
As neither would you or nearly any other famous person on the planet.
So
once you become famous, you have to be a lot more careful with how you say things.
I understand. So my logical follow-up to that remains, do you regret then saying it the way you said it?
I can't live in regret by saying something before I was famous on a camera which barely anybody watched, and then I became famous afterwards. That would be a very asinine way to view the world.
So you stand by all those things?
I can't live in regret because I didn't know I was going to become the most famous man on the planet. That regret would be the wrong word. Is it inconvenient? Sure. But I can't sit here and say, I wish I knew 6 years ago I'd be the most famous man on the planet and monitored all of my speech forever. That's asinine.
You see, but one of the problems that people have with you is that they think you have a malevolent influence on young people. This was the excuse that was put out by the big tech companies.
Excuse being the key word.
Well, it may be, actually. You know, I intrinsically, I have a problem with censorship. I don't think Donald Trump should be banned from Twitter, for example, because the Ayatollah of Iran remains on Twitter and other social media platforms. And whatever I think of you, you're not the Ayatollah of Iran, right? So to me, there's got to be perspective here. And I don't understand the inconsistency by what companies like Twitter, how they treat the leader of Iran and someone like you. It seems to me they're much more draconian on people like you than they are with people who perhaps should not be allowed platforms. But generally, I don't really agree with no platforming people. But I think what's interesting talking to you is it seems to me like you have gone on a bit of a journey of self-awareness about the impact of some of the stuff you said in the past. And you have...
Now he's trying to be like this moral high ground. Oh, well, let me talk to you, stupid little colored man. I'm the white majesty of all morality, and I speak upon the fucking... I come from the mountaintop of righteousness and the liberalism and corporatism, and I'm going to show you why you are so wrong. Now, let's go to our next sponsor, Dairy Queen. Tell us how these fat women can fucking die of diabetes at 55, Bob. Fuck out of here. I hate this guy, bro. I absolutely hate this guy. And by this guy, I mean Piers Morgan. Gabody is dropping down another $10 super chat, bro. You are giga chatting right now, bro. Thank you very much, brother. He says, they think we're stupid. They do. They think young boys are dumb and don't think they can decipher the difference between a joke and being serious.
Shut up and take my money.
That shows you how society sees boys and men as dummies. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's not, okay, so you're Gabody, you're 50% correct. They want to take that angle to tell society, oh, these men are so dumb. We have to protect them because these dumb men can be so easily misled. But at the same time, what they really don't want are the boys listening to Andrew dropping some serious red pill truths on them. That's what they really don't want. Remember, they don't want the slaves to know they can read. Okay? It's like what they do to elephants in Thailand, okay? When the baby elephant is born in Thailand, they shackle its foot to a stake in the ground. And its whole childhood, it's trying to pull off of that stake, and the baby elephant thinks like, damn, as long as I have this stake around my arm, I can't get up and I can't leave. And guess what? When that baby elephant grows up and they put that shackle on its foot, it doesn't move because it's been conditioned and beaten down its whole life to think it is weak. It is easily manipulated. It is powerless. And that's what they want to do to you guys as well. They don't want men's empowerment. They don't want men realizing their potential. You out there, if you're watching me right now and you're a man, you have power. You have immense power. Look at history. Just pick up any history book from any culture, from any race, any civilization at any point in time, and you will read how men were conquerors. And that same power flows through your veins right now. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you're Indian. I don't care if you're Arab. I don't care if you're fucking from Kuala Lumpur. I do not give a shit. If you are a man and you have a Y chromosome and testosterone is flowing through your veins, you have unlimited power within you. Life is not given to anybody based upon merit. Okay? Life is given to those who earn it. Effort is the great equalizer. If you don't believe me, look at myself. I came from nothing, abject poverty, up into the top 1%. There are men in my community who have done the same since joining me on this live stream journey when I started on January 21st, 2019. If you are a man, you have power. And the powers that be do not want you to know that. And Andrew Tate was awakening men at an alarming rate. And guess who came to shut him down? The elites, the mainstream media. They don't want you waking up. They absolutely fucking hate you. They hate you. They despise you because they know you're powerful. That's the truth.
Said you wouldn't say it again in the same way. Now, you may not want to express regret for that, but it shows me that at the very least, you have evolved to somebody who recognizes that these can be quite damaging in the way that you said them.
Completely. As a professional and as an adult, it would be stupid for me to sit here and say that now that I'm the most famous man on the planet, my words do not have more impact than they did before. With impact, with power comes responsibility, and things need to be worded in a very careful way. Now, when I do a long format interview, I have to sit there and consciously understand that any 10 seconds of that can be cut and used against me. So I have to be a lot more careful with how I say my words and how I construct my sentences. Of course, we agree with all of that. That's exactly what's happened to me. I agree with all of that. I don't want to be seen as a negative influence in the world. I know that there's a whole bunch of men. I get thousands of emails a week from men whose lives I've saved. I get thousands of emails a week from men who are on the verge of suicide and I've saved their lives. We're talking about...
And by the way, I don't dispute that at all. You have almost certainly, I would think, from everything I've read about you, I think you have certainly been probably able to be very helpful to young men who have really struggled for self-confidence and all that kind of thing, right?
Completely.
I'm completely prepared to accept that. But there was also, I think, quite a disturbing piece that BuzzFeed did. And it talked about the negative...
Great. BuzzFeed, the most credible news source in the world. Let's hear what BuzzFeed had to say. Listen to how quickly Piers Morgan has to shut the fuck up and eat his words. Look how he doesn't come with any integrity. These notes were probably put together by his staffers, who are a bunch of blue pill snakes because they actually stomach working for a guy like this. But watch, listen to the question, look how he tries to manipulate Andrew Tate, and watch how, like a fat person, lazy, slob, doesn't pay attention to details, he makes a mistake right here, clear as day, within his own with his own writing, his own paperwork, and he doesn't even catch it. Look how stupid Piers Morgan is. Pay attention to the question he asks, pay attention to the reference that he gives, and watch the clear incongruency with it. Pay attention, seriously.
Negative impact of young, impressionable male minds when they've read or seen some of the more inflammatory things you've said. And they quoted, for example, Sandy, 22, from Washington. My father's gone from a man who minored in women's studies in college, who was kind and in touch with his emotions, treated all people, men and women around him, with kindness, to a man who says that whenever he sees an effeminate male stranger, he gets an overwhelming urge to murder them. He loves podcasts. He listens to a lot of podcasts. And
look at this. Andrew immediately notices the incongruency.
I know he's listened to Andrew Tate.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's stop for a second. Let's be professional here, Piers, because you're a professional as am I. First, she said, did you say that my father went? She said, my father has gone.
Her father.
That's a full-grown man, firstly. So we're talking about my impact on children. You just talked about a full-grown man here.
So Piers was saying, listen to the impact you've had on impressionable young children. Here we have a quote from Sandy, age 22, adult, about their father, obviously a grown adult as well. Here's the outrage comment. Do you understand? This man has a massive platform, and he cannot even get his facts right. He cannot even get his lies and manipulation right. Does that not infuriate anybody else? I have more fact-checking done on my little studio here in my apartment in Tokyo than this guy does in a huge studio with a bunch of staffers and a whole team before him. And he's making these kind of fucking blatant mistakes. While making some huge accusations, calling him a misogynist, saying, Andrew Tate, you're the face of a woman's hatred movement. Think about that for a second. Think about that.
Secondly, I've never talked about murdering effeminate men in anything online ever, in any context ever. So I don't know why they have taken some random person I've never met in the world who's full grown, an adult, and come to their own conclusions who I've never met and lumped his name in with mine. That is absolutely unfair on every level. I didn't read this BuzzFeed. I didn't read this BuzzFeed article, but after hearing the first point, I know it's trash. That is complete garbage.
What
to
is
sit and say that
your
I'm the
view?
reason this man believes what he believes.
I've seen a quote from you, and you can tell me what you feel here about this.
Sure.
You talk about people don't want to see men dressed up in dresses, transgender.
That's not exactly what I said. What did you say? I said the reason I am so popular and I'm so famous is that there's a large contingent of men who don't want to wear makeup, who still want to make money, go to the gym, be strong, drive a fast car, be traditionally masculine, and don't want to be shamed for that, and they don't want to be called toxic for that. That is the reason I'm so massively famous. That is what I said.
What do you think of transgender people?
That's nothing.
There we go. What do you think of transgender people? Tell me about men. Tell me about men who are absolutely bombarded with propaganda, letting them know, oh yeah, like guess what? You can totally chop your dick off and you won't regret it. And honestly, if you do chop your dick off, you'll probably
Shut up and take my money.
You'll probably be more empowered. You'll probably be just so brave and so strong. Okay? Let's talk. Okay, let's see what Piers. Let's check what it says. Okay, let's take a look. What we got here? Okay. Oh, let's see. This is a woman with 2 X chromosomes who was told in her teens that she should take male hormones for 5 years. Let's check in and see how she's doing with transgenderism. Let's just take a look here.
Yeah, so I got out of my haircut, because my hair was... so I got out of my haircut, because my hair was driving me nuts, and I shaved it because I'm tired of watching my hair thin out, and it's less distressing if I shave it. So when I talk about being too far gone, I don't really know what else to call it. This is what I mean. This is how deep my voice is. It's gotten deeper over time, and it's settled. This is what I mean by hair loss. And it just keeps getting worse. It keeps thinning. It keeps receding backwards. And I'm not exactly sure that's coming back. Those are the main things when I talk about being androgenized to a point of no return. I really don't see those being fixable. So that's when I talk about, just kind of staying how I am, regardless of how I feel. That's why, just because I don't really see me personally being able to come back from what's happened so far. So I hope that's a little explanatory, just to kind of give a little bit more of a, let me reword that, just to kind of, talk about, give more awareness to the situation, kind of, so you can see where I'm at. Words are not working well with me right now. I'm just gonna cut this off. There you go. This is what happens when you give a woman testosterone. This for 5 years. This is what happens, essentially. So, that's it. Stay safe.
A Boogie says, this is truly sad. Well, I've got something to cheer you up, because here's what it really should look like, right?
It's Pride, everybody! Every color on the Pride flag is a symbol in the sky. Pride! And I'm proud to be me every time that I see that Pride flag waving high. Red means life because living is a gift. Orange means healing, and we have to persist in working to heal the world and healing ourselves. Yellow means sunlight, cause you gotta shine bright. Green means nature, and we gotta fight to keep our earth a thriving home for life. Doesn't it just feel...
Here, let's just do this. Let's do it like, let's play these side by side, shall we? Let's just really memify our lives right now. Okay?
Hey y'all, so I got out of my haircut, because my hair was driving me nuts, and I shaved it because I'm tired of watching my hair thin out, and it's less distressing if I shave it. So when I talk about being too far gone, I don't really know what else to call it, this is what I mean. This is how deep my voice is. It's gotten deeper over time, and it's settled. This is what I mean by hair loss. And it just keeps getting worse. It keeps thinning. It keeps receding backwards. And I'm not exactly sure that's coming back. Those are the main things when I talk about being recognized to a point of no return. I really don't see those being fixable. So that's when I talk about just kind of staying how I am, regardless of how I feel. That's why, just because I don't really see me personally being able to come back from what's happened so far. So I hope that's a little explanatory, just to kind of give a little bit more of the just to kind of talk about, like, give more awareness to the situation. Words are not working very well right now. I'm just gonna cut this off. There you go. You know, this is what happens when you give a woman testosterone. This is for 5 years. This is what happens, essentially. So, you know, that's it. Stay safe.
Oh, that really just lifted up the mood of that that whole thing of a woman explaining what's happening. For you guys that are not paying attention at home,
you have accepted the truth.
Okay, I just want to. I sometimes I wonder the average IQ of some people watching, because you're like, man, that's a woman with male pattern baldness. That's literally a woman, a biological woman with 2 X chromosomes saying, this is what has happened to me after taking testosterone for 5 years. Okay, that's what she's saying. That's a woman. Do I have to repeat that again for you fucking mouth breathers? That is a woman who took testosterone for 5 years. And she regrets it. Just like a large majority of people are regretting this whole transitionary thing that is happening. The same thing that Piers Morgan is about to defend right now.
To do with me. I'm not transgender, and I don't understand the issue like they do. They
Are you transphobic? Do you consider yourself that?
Transphobic? What? Afraid?
Well, it kind of, yeah. You have
I don't live in fear, my friend. I have no problem.
Do you have a dislike of transgender people?
I don't know any transgender people.
But do you have a dislike of what they stand for, what they are?
No. Why would I?
I don't know.
That's not.
See, and that's just Piers taking the low-hanging fruit, trying to be like, so you hate gay people, so you hate trans people, so you hate women. And he can't, like, if Andrew Tate was fully white, he'd be like, so you hate black people too. That's exactly what he would do, because he only has one agenda and one agenda only, to try to demonize this guy, because men waking up and having a fucking brain and being sovereign individuals is everything that they do not want to happen, period. And the cat's out the bag. People are not going back. You're not going to unred pill people. You red pilled people with the fucking the beer bug. You red pilled people with the jab. You red pilled people with feminism. You red pilled people with what you did in like the whole Star Wars community when you made Luke Skywalker like a total giant pussy. There's no going back. It is only upward and outward from here. Period.
Not my issue. That's not my issue. And that's actually quite interesting, because when I was attacked, a lot of these stupid articles like BuzzFeed, because it's ridiculous, that first point proves anyone with a brain knows that that's garbage. When they attacked me, they lump a whole bunch of things in together. They say misogynistic, racist, transphobic. They just put them all together at random. I'm mixed race.
By the way,
I don't know where they get these. They just get these buzzwords and put them in a sentence.
By the way, I completely agree.
It's crazy.
And I've had the same thing done to me.
Okay, well,
and I'm not
then.
calling you anything. I'm asking you what you personally believe you are.
It's not an issue I discuss. What I do discuss is that...
So you support transgender people?
I support individual liberty. I'm a libertarian.
Yeah, so you support transgender people?
Sure. Why not?
Exactly, yeah.
So, but my point is, as a whole, you're saying that I'm saying I don't want to see men in dresses. I'm saying no.
Do you support gay people?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a large contingent of men in the world.
See that? It's just so you support gay people. Do you support trans people? Do you support black people? Do you support this? Do you support that? This guy doesn't give a shit. This is not an interview. This is a hack job.
who like the idea of the traditional masculine view of the world, who feel happy when they watch 80s action heroes with big muscles and they run around. And there's nothing toxically masculine about having a fast car and a beautiful girlfriend and making a bunch of money. And
Nothing at all.
Absolutely. And those are the people who are my fans.
I
and
agree.
I'm saying,
but the problem is, okay, I'm going to interrupt you just to say this. No.
Okay, but you're saying that I have a problem with men in dresses. I'm saying no. The people who watch my content.
I've asked you that question. You've answered.
Yeah, but the people who watch my content don't want to see men in dresses. Clearly, I don't wear a dress. That's the point I'm making.
Why they're watching your content.
No,
you're not wearing a dress.
No, but that's the point I'm making. That's the point I was making. There's a large contingent of men who are not interested in the things that perhaps the YouTube algorithm's trying to feed them.
I think there are lots
of...
look, when you support masculinity and masculine traits, I'm with you, right?
Okay, so you agree a man should protect and provide for a woman?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you agree if you were walking down the street with a woman, you'd be responsible with her safety?
Yeah.
Cool, absolutely. So if that woman wanted to walk alone at
I don't
night,
think I have authority over the woman as we do that.
Okay, so let me ask you another question, Piers, because we are professionals. Let's say your woman decided she wanted to take a nice little walk through the south side of Chicago at 2 a.m., and she wanted you to go with her, and you were responsible for fighting and dying on the spot if she was attacked. Don't you think you would say to her, no, we're not going out right now, it's not safe?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd have authority to make the decision. So
No, I wouldn't.
So
I would say,
so
I
we
don't
agree.
think you should. If she decides to, it's her own volition.
Well, if she decides, you're not going to stop her.
I have no power to stop her.
Completely.
But you think you do.
No, I don't think I have power to stop her.
You clearly do.
No, I think I have power to make the decision. I think, no, that's not sensible.
So if you have the power to make the decision, you have the power to stop her.
No, because
and that's where we differ. And that's why I think it's interesting about you. I don't think you really think through what you're saying.
I think through what I'm saying so carefully.
Yeah, I don't think you think through what you're saying, Piers, because a woman would die under your watch, you fat fuck.
Andrew, what you've literally just said is that you have the power to stop her.
No, I said I don't have the power to stop her. I'm not going to lock her in the room. I'm saying that.
So if she wants to go on her own,
then she's going to go.
Then
but
you don't have authority to stop her.
Okay, but as a couple, if we're going to sit there and decide if we're going to take this.
You asked me, would I feel a sense of responsibility for her safety? Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So
would
let me
I
finish,
have the
Piers.
power or authority to stop her doing it? No.
No, of course not. So let me finish, Piers. You're not going to stop her walking out the hotel. Of course, it's her decision. She's a sovereign individual. My point is that usually in a couple, you sit there as a team and you discuss, and perhaps on certain issues, the woman will know more about X and she'll decide X, and the man might know more about Y and he'll decide Y. So I'm saying if we're as a couple and we're sitting there and deciding, as a couple, as a team, and she says she wants to take this late night stroll, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to veto this one. I'm going to call veto.
Do you believe
because it's dangerous, which to a degree would give me, in that particular scenario, a degree of authority. If she said, I don't want to listen to you, Andrew.
It doesn't give you authority.
If she says, I don't want to listen to you, Andrew, I want to go on that walk, then what can I do? Say, well, then I
you don't have authority.
Then I wish you the best, my love.
Then you don't have authority.
Cool, then it's a semantic argument.
Not really.
I think
it's the complete opposite of what you said you had, which was authority.
No problem, Piers. No problem. But I think
Let
we
me
actually.
ask you about what do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real. No.
Really?
Correct.
You don't believe people can be clinically depressed?
I think PTSD is very real. Unfortunately, I have some friends who suffer from that. I know that feeling depressed is real. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life. I believe that it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease that you can't affect. I know that when I've had difficult periods in my life, and also many of my friends, like I've said, suffer from PTSD and been through.
Shout out to DeFreak, $2 super chat, Tate 1, Morgan 0. That score's way worse than that. And then shout out to Hung Like...
you have accepted the truth.
Shout out to Hung Like a Slave, $1.99 super chat. I can't believe Jesus died for this vegetable, and neither could I.
Through terrible things. I've lived a very difficult life, and I know people who have. That the things that made them feel better is when they woke up and said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to damage me anymore. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this as hard as I can.
Right, and by the way, on that, I agree.
So we agree.
Right? My favorite speech is the Rocky Balboa one.
Okay, so then we agree. No, we do.
Here's where we don't agree.
Piers.
You don't. No, hang on. You've got to let me interject when I don't agree with you.
You've got to let me. You've got to let me. Shut the fuck up, dude. Does anybody else hate this guy? Can we put a 1 in the chat if we hate this guy? 2 if you really don't hate him. 1 if you hate him. 2 if you don't hate him. I'm going to lead the charge because I absolutely fucking hate this guy, dude. This guy's just fucking... Like, if this guy got vaporized in front of me by a bullet train, I would hope I had an umbrella to shield me from the blood, and that's about it. That's all I would care about. If I had to push a button to save Piers Morgan from getting vaporized by a fucking super train, I would just look him in the eye and just give him one of these. Just be like, see you later, buddy. And just want him to get vaporized. I would love, and I would laugh. I would laugh and I would text Andrew Tate, like, hey, bro, I just vaporized Piers Morgan. Holler at me. Let me run a module in Hustlers University, G.
Right? Where I don't agree with you is that there's no such thing as clinical depression. There absolutely is. Well, it's a proven scientific medical reality. There's a different argument about have we gone a bit...
There's a proven scientific reality. Okay? Dude, you cannot scan the brain and detect depression. Okay? They recently found that a study that they were talking about depression that was pushed by some big pharmaceutical company was completely debunked. And that led the whole revolution of like, take Lexapro, and if you want to kill yourself, that's okay, because at least you're not depressed. Yeah, here we go. This is one of the biggest one. This one, you guys remember SSRIs? The SSRI stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Okay, we basically flooded your synapse with serotonin, which honestly just made you like less likely to be happy. Researchers find no evidence that depression is caused by low serotonin. This is a huge study that they were like, we need people to take SSRIs. We need people to take SSRIs. And the reality is, it was all bullshit. So again, Tate, once again, vindicated.
Too soft, right? In schools and all the rest of it. Absolutely. Do I think some people moan and whine too much about their lot in life? Definitely. Okay. Are we a victimhood society? 100%. Okay. Is there such a thing as clinical depression? Absolutely. So, and my argument is that if you actually bracket everybody who's not clinically depressed and doesn't have the genuine medical condition, then actually if millions of people are deemed to have depression, the ones who really need the help don't get it. Well, that's my point.
Well, that I would agree with. You're right. I think it's certainly an overused term.
But you don't accept there is such a thing as clinical depression.
No, I don't.
And that to me is a damaging view.
Okay. Well, let me explain why. If someone comes to me and says I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this. And what you need to do is stop identifying that way, and let's work together to try and fight against it.
There isn't an eminent doctor in the world who would tell you there is no such thing as clinical depression. Who would not tell you that some people it's simply beyond their control.
Johann Hari wrote a book saying exactly that, my friend.
But he's not an eminent doctor.
No, but
he's a journalist.
I said depression wasn't real long ago and was attacked for it. Then Johann Hari wrote a book which
What's
actually...
What's it got to do with Johann Hari?
Because he wrote a book proving me right. Most people...
Johann Hari's a journalist.
Sure. And my point is that a lot of people who are clinically depressed...
So are you, Pierce. So are you.
...are suffering with something in their life, and if you fix the problem in their life, perhaps they won't feel depressed anymore. That's not a disease.
Yeah, but Andrew...
That's situational.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers.
It's what I believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers,
that would agree with you.
Piers,
do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's like saying I'm never going to die because I don't believe in it. It's ridiculous.
Perhaps, but if it allows me to live a life where I feel happy and
but here's where you
see, myself.
This is that little area where you lose.
Is it ridiculous if a dude says, "I think I'm a woman, so I'm going to cut my fucking dick off"? How does that work out? You know, where do we draw the line?
Lose me.
No, I don't lose you.
You won't, because
Piers,
somebody with your following says
the thousands of people who have emailed me saying my doctor told me I was clinically depressed and it's a disease that I have got in my brain and I can't be fixed. And I started listening to you and I realized that that's not the case and I can fix my own life and you're the only person who has ever helped me.
Oh, Andrew.
Thousands of people have emailed me that exact email.
If you think you are single-handedly curing people of clinical depression, you are living in cloud cuckoo land.
I am reading the...
Bro, I can tell you this. I have changed people's lives. People have sent me messages saying I was going to off myself, but I started watching your streams, I gained hope, and I am no longer depressed. So yes, Piers. And why is Piers Morgan saying that? Because he is controlled by the pharmaceutical companies that are also behind the scenes funding him and saying like, oh yeah, by the way, like, because all these the commercials now, I don't know if they can play prescription medical drug commercials in the UK, guys, because I know in some countries it's illegal, but in America they pop that shit like it's Pez. I mean, they hand that thing out like it's candy on fucking Halloween. But in the UK, are they allowed to do it? It is illegal. Mr. Patson says it is illegal. Okay. Hey, Danny, good to see you still with us here in the land of living. How about my local Brits? Mr. Patson says it's illegal, but I don't know if he is actually British or not. No, they can't. We have a public health system. All countries but New Zealand and the US, I think. It's legal in a ton of countries. In the UK, Britain, Crypto Gamer just wrote in the UK, Britain. But the mainstream media, the mainstream machine does absolutely get funding by the pharmaceutical companies. And that's why he's touting this narrative as well.
Emails of people who I have cured of clinical depression.
You're reading emails from people who have believed you when you say there isn't such a thing, and they've probably never been diagnosed clinically depressed. They just want to go along with what Andrew Tate says.
I don't think so.
I think your view of that view is dangerous.
I respect that you think my view is dangerous, and I respect you have the right to view that, to think that. I think that clinical depression, I actually agree with you, is massively overdiagnosed. I've already said that PTSD is a very real thing. I've already said...
hang on. Okay. Again, you're misquoting me. I did not say clinical depression is massively overdiagnosed. I said that people who claim to be depressed but don't have clinical depression, I think that is massively overblown, right? In other words, there are a lot of people who just have a bad day and declare, I've got depression. And I say, well, have you been to a doctor? Have you been clinically diagnosed? If you have, and you have clinical depression, that's one thing. But if you haven't, we could probably work on some mental strength and resilience skills with you. But a clinically depressed person has an absolutely proven medical condition that is beyond their control.
Not according to me and many others, my friend.
Well, look, what do you know about it, honestly?
I know
You're not a doctor, are you? Not trained, are you?
I'm not a doctor.
You're not a psychiatrist, you're none of those things.
Sure.
Neither are you, Piers. Neither are you.
You're a guy on the make. He's done very well for himself, spouting stuff off, much of which I agree with, as you've seen in the interview, but some of which is ludicrous, and that's one of them.
It's not ludicrous.
It is.
It's not.
If you said to me, we're in a victimhood society, has got to stop, I'm with you.
Okay.
But the moment you try and deny clinical depression...
I believe feeling depressed is real. I do not believe it's a disease that you catch from the sky and you cannot affect. I believe that no matter what happens, I believe you have control of your own mind and you can fight against it. I believe if you change your circumstances in your life, you may feel different. I'll give you a quick example. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I told him, because I replied to my emails. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I'm on antidepressants, it doesn't work. I said, I don't know what to say to you besides this. And he said he lost his girlfriend, that's why I became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym, get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say to you. But I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train.
Shut
he
up
went,
and take
started
my
sending me
money.
progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better shape, and eventually got a six-pack. He's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that. I feel so much better, etc. The doctor was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it. He started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. Now, I'm not saying it's the case for everybody.
No.
I'm just saying.
Here's my question, though. Have you seen the guy's medical records?
Of course not. I just told you the story.
So you're just taking his word for it?
I am taking the words of a man who emailed me with a bunch of medication and specific
So you're denying proven science because one guy writes to you.
You're denying proven science. They can't even scan the brain and detect depression. You guys know that, right? I'm not saying depression isn't real. Obviously, it's very real. But I will say that a lot of the things that the reason people say go to a doctor 9 times out of 10 is not to get better, but to get prescribed something that masks the symptoms. You don't get cured. There's no money in the cure. There's money in the medicine. That's why we're on our 17th round of COVID jabs, right? Oh my God. Oh, am I not supposed to say that?
Who you help, and you've not seen any evidence.
I'm a scientist. LOL says, I want to fight this old man. Me too. Damien Orozco, $4.99 super chat. Yes, only the US and New Zealand have ads for it. New Zealand just has an oversee it, manage it. Heard from John Abrahamson on JRE say this. Thank you so much, sir.
You ever had clinical depression diagnosed?
I'm denying the idea that...
And on the back of it, you go on your rants in public to tens of millions of people denying something because this guy writes to you and says he had it and you cured him. And I think that's a dangerous mindset, Andrew.
That's fine.
And that's where you don't have a responsible view of your influence over people.
Disagree. It's very responsible because I'm saving people's lives. I disagree that if you feel depressed, I disagree that you cannot affect it and change your life and take control and fix yourself and feel happier. I disagree with that.
Do you think
I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person. And I also will argue with you, and I'll counter the point, that you sitting here on your platform telling people they have clinical depression, there's nothing they can do about it, is far more dangerous. Okay, well then, if they have clinical depression...
Why do you misquote me?
No, because you're saying...
You hate being misquoted.
No, you're saying if people have clinical depression, that
I never said
they
there's
have a
nothing to
disease.
do about it. They go to a doctor and they get diagnosed and they get help.
Then I would argue the point that if
It's
somebody...
the complete opposite of what you just said I said.
I would argue the point that if somebody has depression of any kind, whether it's clinical, whether it exists or not, whether they feel depressed or not, whatever, that taking control of their life, taking personal responsibility and working hard is always going to be the positive, best thing they can possibly do for their life going forward.
How
and the people
positive
going
is
around
it?
them. So sitting here saying, I don't believe in clinical depression, you don't believe in depression. No, I don't. I believe that people can take control and fight against things. I believe in personal sovereignty.
Right. Fine.
Good. So we agree.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Piers, you're on my side, afraid of being cancelled along with me.
As I said to you from the start,
that's all
I
it is.
agree with a lot of what you say.
Completely. So we're
but
talking
I'm
about...
taking you to task over the stuff I don't agree with.
Sure.
And I'm just not sure you understand why it's wrong, which is in itself quite revealing. Let me talk to you about Alex. Let me talk to you about Alex Jones, right? Who I have a bit of history.
Here we go. Now he's like, okay. And now he says, okay, you're friends with Alex Jones, therefore you support every single thing he's ever said in the history of his career. Got it.
With. He tried to get me deported from the United States.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. What is your view of Alex Jones?
I think that Alex Jones is a sovereign individual who, very much like the rabid left, deserves a chance to speak on his points of view. I think that the truth on issues is usually somewhere in the middle between two extremes. And
So you think Sandy Hook was staged?
I don't know anything about Sandy Hook.
Really? You know he's just been sued by the families for millions and millions.
I have no idea.
And
You don't know
Piers
anything about
Morgan, Piers Morgan was going on and on and on about Sandy Hook, and Ben Shapiro absolutely destroyed Piers Morgan with his opening statement, and it was just hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. And look where Piers Morgan did. I think this is it. Let me just double check. But I wanted to show you this. Sandy Hook. Oh, here we go.
So why am I...
Take a look here. I think I don't know if this is the full clip, but I just think this is what happened. But this is in 2013. But check this out.
Off the rails, Mr. Shapiro.
Honestly, Piers, you've kind of been a bully on this issue because what you do, and I've seen it repeatedly on your show, I watch your show, and I've seen it repeatedly, what you tend to do is you tend to demonize people who differ from you politically by standing on the graves of the children of Sandy Hook, saying they don't seem to care enough about the dead kids. If they cared more about the dead kids, they would agree with you on policy. I think we can have a rational political conversation about balancing rights and risks and rewards of all of these different policies, but I don't think that what we need to do is demonize people on the other side as being unfeeling about what happened in Sandy Hook.
How dare you accuse me of standing on the graves of the children that died there? How dare you?
I've seen you do it repeatedly, Piers.
Like I say, how dare you?
Well, I mean, you can keep saying that, but you've done it repeatedly. What you do, and I've seen you do it on the program, is you keep saying to folks that if they disagree with you politically, then somehow this is a violation of what happened in Sandy Hook. And you have yet, I'd really like to hear your policy prescriptions for what we should do about guns. Because you say that you respect the Second Amendment, and, you know, I brought this here for you so that you can read it. It's the Constitution. And I would really like for you to explain to me what you would do about guns that would have prevented what happened in Sandy Hook. If you want to do what you did in the UK, right, which is ban virtually all guns, that is at least a fair argument. And we can have a discussion about whether that's something that we ought to do or
Well, I've
not.
made it very clear what I want to do, which is exactly what Mark Kelly wants to do. And in fact, rather than address
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Rather than address your comments to me about standing on the graves of children at Sandy Hook, you can address them to Mark Kelly, because he agrees with everything that I've been saying, because he feels the same way, as does his wife. They're gun owners. They both respect the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
He got him hook, line, and sinker right there, because he just that's what he's doing right now with Tate. Is like, if you don't agree with him, then he begins character assassination, which is what he starts to do right here by saying Andrew Tate's association with Alex Jones is somehow a negative thing.
So why would you support someone in public when you know nothing about the most infamous
When
thing
have I
attached to
supported
it?
him in public?
You have supported him in public.
I've been on his podcast.
Yeah, but you said nice things about him.
I say nice things about lots of people.
What do you think of Alex Jones?
I said nice things about you, Piers.
That's fine. so you should. I'm a nice person.
So to sit and say that I've been on a podcast and I say nice things about
But
him
you
means
said
I
you support his right to speak about things like Sandy Hook.
I don't know Sandy Hook. I don't know. And
You know what it was?
It was a mass shooting.
Of school children.
Okay. But to sit and
he,
it's actually no. Let's stop for a second. Please don't interrupt me. Here's why I know why you're good at your job. First, you interrupt people a lot, which is good. It's a good skill,
Actually,
and then there you go. Prove me right.
But here's exactly
and the timing's good.
Here's exactly what I do. I only interrupt people like you when you either refuse to answer the question or answer a completely different one.
Shut up and take my
and I want
money.
to remind you of what the question was.
Fair enough. That's
Or
fair.
when you misquote me back, which you've done repeatedly through the interview, where you say, "You see, Piers, you agree with me," and the viewer who's been watching will go, "No, he didn't."
Cool, no problem. The other thing you do is you try and set these traps like now. So you're saying
What's the trap you think I'm setting?
You're saying that I agree with every single point of view a man has.
I literally didn't say that.
You're saying, well, you support Alex Jones.
Why would you misquote me?
Because you're saying.
So, and you could see the way his face is. You know, he's just like holding it in because he's kind of like holding back his laughter to an extent because he knows he's just doing this to trigger Tate and kind of just badger him for the last tail end of this interview. Billy Huang, $20 super chat. Andrew Tate is right about fitness. Some in my family was, quote, depressed, end quote, for over 10 years. He started working out seriously a year ago. He now has a visible six-pack and completely different man. So proud of him. Very, 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 very true. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Billy. Good to see you in the Money Muscles Game monthly coaching today as well, brother.
Saying you support Alex Jones and you said you've been on his podcast and he said this. I don't know
What do you think of Alex Jones?
I don't know everything he said.
What do you
Piers.
think of him?
I think on his podcast he was cordial. I think he was professional on his podcast. I've also done podcasts with rabid leftists and people who openly hate me.
Is it wrong?
I do a podcast circuit.
Okay.
So and I don't know everything he's ever said.
When somebody like
and I don't know what. So I don't know what you're trying to get me here because I did a podcast.
If you let me get a word in edgeways, I'll tell you.
It's a lame trick.
If you let me get a word in, I will tell you.
Let's go.
Alex Jones said that Sandy Hook didn't happen. It was staged by actors.
Okay.
This compounded the appalling grief of the families of those poor 20 children who were gunned to pieces by a lunatic with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. They were already grief-stricken beyond belief, and this guy poured petrol onto that grief quite deliberately to make a huge amount of money from his InfoWars fake news bullshit. And as a result, a lot of the families have now sued him, and they've won, and he's going to have to pay back tens, maybe hundreds of millions.
Okay, so Alex Jones made one mistake, and I get it, but they don't talk about the series of home run rights that Alex Jones has been right about. This guy's been right about a lot of things. But of course, it's not part of the mainstream narrative where they don't have their poster beta boy, you know, towing the line for him. So can't have that, right?
Of dollars in damages to these families, and quite right, it won't do anything about the pain he caused them. Some of them actually had people turn up outside their houses with guns because Alex Jones had told them that these parents were making it all up. They were all staged actors. It was all run by the government. So I simply say to you, now I've told you that, what is your view of Alex Jones?
I don't see why any of that has to do with me. It's very interesting. I've done the guy's podcast. I know him well. He was professional and courteous to me. When I meet somebody and they show me respect, I show them back. Respect. That's what I do, as I did with you.
You respect him?
If somebody shows me respect, I show them respect back.
So if Adolf Hitler showed you respect, you'd respect him back?
That's a stupid question, Piers.
It's not. It's a logical extension of your argument.
No, if in 1931 I was walking through Germany and a man come up to me and said, sorry for bumping into you, I'd say, sorry, no problem, mate. I'd show respect back. I don't know, what are you trying to say? That I sanction the Holocaust?
You literally just said if somebody respects you, you respect them back
I say if somebody shows me respect, I show respect.
I mean, speaking of things, you know, there's a guy, and I can't really say his name without getting in trouble, so I'll just say this. He had an island, and he flew a lot of people like Bill Gates and President Clinton and Barack Obama and a lot of celebrities out to that island. And he had a girlfriend as well that helped him fly people out to this island. His name rhymes with Effrey and then Jepstein put 2 and 2 together. I can't even say his name on YouTube without being censored. Think about that for a second. Effrey Jepstein and Alex Jones was the first person to break that story mainstream, and everybody called him crazy. Lo and behold, next thing you know, somebody suicides themselves in their prison cell. And the flight list of all the people going to that island hasn't been released. Gee, let me think.
Back. That's a good way to go through life.
Whoever it is.
If somebody shows me respect and is courteous to me, I'm courteous back. Yes.
How can you respect somebody who caused such misery and pain to Sandy?
I have no idea the specifics of the thing you're discussing. I don't understand any of it.
Well,
I don't know anything about it. You've told me your version of events.
When did you go on the podcast?
I was on the podcast about four times in the last 4 years. I did one relatively recently.
So four times you went on Alex Jones's podcast.
Correct.
Promoting him, helping him make money.
I don't think it was promoting and helping him because...
Well, it's his podcast.
Well, yeah, but I've been on the podcasts of people who absolutely hate me. I've been on liberal left-wing podcasts. I've been on feminist podcasts. And no, you just sat here saying I would like you to agree, perhaps we can agree on this point, that I'm not a feminist. I go on feminist podcasts. I do a podcast circuit. You're
not a feminist?
No, I don't know.
What do you think a feminist is?
Well, let's not change subject here, Piers. Stay on the subject.
I know. You mentioned feminism.
Completely. But you're trying to get away from the point, because what you did is you're trying to say, because I did a podcast, I sanction all of this person's views. And I'm saying I do 5 podcasts a week. I do 5 podcasts a week, and I don't sanction 100% the views of any other person on the planet, because I'm an individual, and he has an individual views, as do you. So I don't know why you're trying to come at me with one of his views and pretend that's something to do with me.
Because it's a pretty big view.
No, but it's a lame trick, Piers, and you're better than this. So let's move on.
Would you,
if Vladimir
Putin had a podcast, would you go on it?
Sure.
You would? Great. Okay, let me know what you're talking about.
If Vladimir Putin had a podcast, I'd go on it. If Joe Biden had a podcast, I'd go on it. If a feminist has a podcast, I'll go on it. If Piers Morgan has a podcast, I'll go on it. If Alex Jones, I don't see the point you're making. There's no point here. You're digging, but there's nothing to find.
Well, I'm not. I'm taking your position that if somebody shows you respect them.
I think that...
I'm saying there are lots of people in the world I do not respect. If Vladimir Putin showed me respect, I would not respect him.
That's your...
Vladimir Putin wouldn't do anything but laugh in your fat face. Again, what is he doing? Demonizing Vladimir Putin. Why? Because we got to support Ukraine. We got to support Ukraine. Oh, what? Can somebody explain to me why our NPC brains have to support Ukraine again? Why? Because why are we sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine? Where's the ledger for all this money being spent? What's going on? Why is Piers Morgan defending Ukraine? Piers Morgan is a slave to the Matrix. He's a blue pill beta fuck, and that's why they put him at the forefront of this shit.
Your opinion, but
no, it's my view. What's your
that's
view?
your view. Well, your
view is you would.
You're sitting here, Piers, saying that I'm on uncensored show. And in your intro, you said that it's important that we don't have echo chambers and we have varying and that we have varying opinions.
Correct.
But then you're saying the people you don't like, you wouldn't go on their podcast.
No.
So you are a hypocrite.
No.
I will go on anybody's podcast and discuss any point.
I don't think you understand what censorship means, do you? Like a lot of words we've had problems with today.
You're just saying
What do you think censorship means?
No, but the point I'm trying to make here.
Hang on. What do you think censorship means?
Don't hide from the fact that you're saying you will only do podcasts with people you like.
Why do you think that's censorship?
No, that's your prerogative. My prerogative is
What does that do with censorship?
I'll discuss opinions with anybody, and I've done hard left wing. Why are you not asking me about the podcasts I've done for the people who are hard liberal left wing?
By the way, I don't care whether they're left or right.
Okay.
Extremists to me are all nuts, right?
Then we agree.
Yes.
So perfect.
Good.
Next subject.
All right. Here's my next subject. It's a very serious case here.
Jesus. And before you move on, sorry, Piers, but before you move on. I do find it kind of disingenuous, and I know we're on a show, and I don't have a personal problem with you, but it is kind of disingenuous to try and sit here and lump me in with some school shooting. That's nothing to do with me. That's nothing to do with me. On any level.
Let me respond.
On any level.
Let me explain. Like you just said, you've been on this podcast 4 times.
In 4 years.
Since he said the whole thing was staged.
I don't know when he said
it. And I think the fact that a smart guy like you wants me to believe you had no idea that Alex Jones, who's been in the news now for the last 2 years for being sued by these families for the most heinous thing imaginable of pouring petrol onto their grief by claiming that shooting was staged. The fact that you're pretending you didn't know about any of that.
It's not about pretending
and
I
you've
didn't.
been on his podcast four times, supporting him and making him money. So damn right I'm going to call you out on it.
When I do a podcast, if you think I spend time analyzing the point of view of that person and everything they've ever said
You should.
for years beforehand.
It's not years, it was minutes in most cases.
Years and years.
When did you last go on his When did you last go on his
Piers,
podcast?
You trying to lump me in and attack me for a person whose podcast I do having a view is absolutely childish. Because I've done a bunch of podcasts with people.
You would do a podcast.
I've done a bunch of podcasts with people who are advocating for things that I do not agree with on every single level. In fact, most of my podcasts are me disagreeing with people. So it's completely crazy that you're trying to lump me in with that. That's cheap.
I think you are completely misconstruing the point of what I'm saying.
Dude, you've got your diet misconstrued, you fat fuck. I'm sorry, I'm just filled with hatred at this point, guys. This is my third time having to sit through this, and I'm gonna hate Piers Morgan for the rest of my life.
I think deliberately.
No, what you're trying is a cheap trick. And I'm just making it clear to the
It's not a
audience.
cheap trick. I'm just curious where your moral line is.
It's a cheap trick.
Where's your moral line?
I disagree with.
And then, see, where's your moral line? Where's your moral line? Do we go? Okay, here we go again. Do you want some evidence? Let's go back. Let's go, because Ben Shapiro nails it 1,000%, because he's trying to go down the moral compass road. And let's just watch Ben Shapiro own Piers Morgan one more time. And the only thing Piers Morgan can say is, "How dare you? How dare you? That's so offensive."
So why am I off the rails, Mr. Shapiro?
Honestly, Piers, you've kind of been a bully on this issue, because what you do, and I've seen it repeatedly on your show, I watch your show, and I've seen it repeatedly, what you tend to do is you tend to demonize people who differ from you politically by standing on the graves of the children of Sandy Hook, saying they don't seem to care enough about the dead kids. If they cared more about the dead kids, they would agree with you on policy. I think we can have a rational political conversation about balancing rights and risks and rewards of all of these different policies, but I don't think that what we need to do is demonize people on the other side as being unfeeling about what happened in Sandy Hook.
How dare you accuse me of standing on the graves of the children that died there? How dare you?
I've seen you do it repeatedly, Piers.
Like I say, how dare you?
Well, you can keep saying that, but you've done it repeatedly. What you do, and I've seen you do it on the program, is you keep saying to folks that if they disagree with you politically, then somehow this is a violation of what happened in Sandy Hook. And you have yet, I'd really like to hear your policy prescriptions for what we should do about guns. Because you say that you respect the Second Amendment, and I brought this here for you so that you can read it. It's the Constitution. And I would really like for you to explain to me what you would do about guns that would have prevented what happened in Sandy Hook. If you want to do what you did in the UK, right, which is ban virtually all guns, that is at least a fair argument, and we can have a discussion about whether that's something that we ought to do or not.
I've made it very clear what I want to do, which is exactly what Mark Kelly wants to do.
Completely owned him. He's saying you just want to take the moral high ground, the pseudo-moral high ground. Well, if all guns were banned, then this would happen. Yeah, well, should we ban all cheeseburgers? Because a lot of Americans are about to die in the next 10, 15 years. I think COVID pretty much exposed that fucking elephant in the room. That a lot of fat people are unhealthy. AJ Singh, £1.99, £1.99 with the thumbs up. Thanks so much for the donation, brother. How dare you? How dare you? That's when he just completely owned him. And that's what he's trying to do now with Andrew. He's like, I'm just trying to identify your moral compass. Where's the moral compass of telling children that they should mutilate their genitals before they turn the age 18? Where's the moral compass on that?
The points of view with the majority of the people I do podcasts with. So it's a very cheap trick you're trying here. So
when people invent vile things to make themselves rich off the back of families of little kids who've been blown to pieces with a machine gun or a semi-automatic version of a machine gun, I think that is actually a line I wouldn't cross. I wouldn't be happy to go on someone's podcast when they've been responsible for doing that. It's not about political views or differences of opinion over facts. It's about somebody deliberately inventing a pack of lies to compound the grief of families. And I'm curious, you don't think you have any need to go down any kind of moral quandary about people like that before you continue to allow them to use you for their own promotion?
He didn't use me. He didn't use me for
Why does he have you on the
promotion.
podcast?
Because we disagreed and discussed points like we're doing with you right now.
Did you call him out on that?
Are you using me? We didn't discuss that.
I'm not using you. I'm giving you a platform most people aren't giving you right now to show the world who you really are.
Fantastic. So neither of us are using each other. I'm here on your show. I'm providing you with content. You're giving me a platform. And nobody's using each other. It's mutual. We don't agree on a whole bunch of issues. That's
fine.
And here we are.
I think we've had a robust exchange.
Yeah, just like I've done on nearly every other podcast. And if someone were to come and say to me in the future, there's something, heaven forbid,
Shut up
there's
and
a
take my
skeleton in
money.
your closet, and someone were to come to me and say, you were on Piers Morgan's show, did you know he's X or he's done X? I would say that's absolutely nothing to do with me.
Right. But
I make the same point protecting you. I don't know what you do. I don't know your personal life.
I can guarantee one thing. I will not be inventing stories about the families of kids.
I hope not. I hope you're a righteous person. But I don't
I'm
know.
not claiming to be a righteous person.
I don't know.
I'm just saying that I just think it's interesting that you have no moral compulsion about going on people.
It's not about moral compulsions. It's about I don't know what you do, Piers. You could have a bunch of skeletons in your closet, my friend. I don't have a clue. I'm here on your TV show.
I'm sure we all have lots of skeletons. Let me ask you this. Interesting about the feminism thing.
Sure.
Do you identify as a feminist?
I think that women and men are fantastic. Both of us
So,
are fantastic. I think
you have
women
accepted
reproduce.
the truth.
I think women need to be respected, protected, provided for. I think that modern feminism is kind of hard for me to even truly understand.
What do you think it means? What is feminism?
I think that the idea of feminism is that men and women are equal under the law.
And do you believe that?
Completely.
We should be treated completely equal.
Yeah, but we are equal under the law. Wouldn't you agree?
Not really. I think there are still some issues in the world where, I mean, certainly in workplace, the gender pay gap remains. They're not treated equally in most cases, women.
Well, that can be discussed, the gender pay gap. I think that's already been discussed at length. I think that there's actually...
You think women should go to work?
I think women should work completely.
You do?
Why wouldn't they?
Because in the parts of the country, of the world you were mentioning earlier, that have different views of women, they don't go to work.
In the parts of the...
They choose not to go to work in those countries. You can get a job in Saudi Arabia. What is this guy on about? Dax Hill, $10 super chat. My only complaint is that Tate was courteous for too long. Exactly, yes. He should have assassinated Piers' character much earlier. Dante Nero said it best. If you're dealt a shit hand, flip over the table. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The world that person from the podcast was from, for the point I made. Yeah, they didn't. But
yeah, and then Vader in the chat says, dude just said the gender pay guy. Exactly. So he said, he's gone down, do you hate trans people? Do you hate gay people? Do you hate women? Oh, those barbarians in the Middle East, those unclean, dirty Muslims in the Middle East are so barbaric in the way they treat their women. And the gender pay gap, like everything that every person with a brain understands that is complete and utter bullshit, he's touting on as some kind of truth. And exactly why nobody likes this fat fuck.
I don't live in those parts of the world. I think women should be free to work if they choose. I think it's very important that the family unit remains. I do believe that in my personal view, the most important and respectful thing a woman can do is become a mother. I think that having children is a beautiful thing. But obviously, if a woman wants to work and wants to have a career, especially now with paternity leave or maternity leave, and she can manage to do both, why wouldn't I want women to work? I don't know why anyone would ever assume I don't want women to work or think women can't work, because I said that I should keep them safe sometimes.
Good.
No, but it's interesting because you have to look at this, Piers. It's interesting how people extrapolate. Andrew said that he's responsible for a woman's safety, and he said that gives him authority to make decisions for her safety, and that's been misconstrued, and he's a bad person. He believes that women are property. So, but now we believe that Andrew doesn't believe in love. Andrew doesn't believe women should work. I don't know where all of that comes from.
Well, that's why I'm glad we've had a chance to discuss
completely. I believe women are sovereign individuals, and they can make any choice they so desire. I think that it's important that we remember that a man has a duty. I think I certainly in my relationship have a financial responsibility to provide for my woman. My woman would never have to work unless she wanted to, because I'm the kind of person who works hard enough that she wouldn't have to.
Should young men, though, all aspire to be like you?
Should young men aspire to work very hard, have no criminal record, become multimillionaires, protect and provide for the women close to them, be sovereign so they can stand up and have their own points of view in face of cancellation, be able to not be mentally intimidated when they go on national TV and there's traps set up for them? Yeah, I believe that confident, strong men who stand up and protect and provide for women are a good thing for the world and a good force for the world. And I don't think that I put a magic spell on anybody. I think there's a whole bunch of men in the world who understands my value. And if men grow up to be like me, you're gonna have a whole bunch of people with no criminal record, dedicated athletes, who protect and provide for the people close to them, are fantastic for the economy. And I'm certainly not the worst influence out here, Piers. You have Lil Nas twerking on the devil on music videos, which our children are digesting. You have drill artists singing about stabbing people to death in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. You have rabid psychopaths on whether the right or the left announcing violence on the other side. You have all these insanities in the world. And because I sit here and say, yeah, perhaps, now you've laid it out and it offended you, I understand.
I didn't say it offended me.
Okay, cool.
I just read you the things.
You read things that you say they can be offensive and some people are offended.
Well, some people definitely were offended.
Absolutely. That's fine.
And honestly, I think some of the things you said were genuinely offensive and misogynist.
Okay, so they offended you.
And actually,
like I said earlier, so they offended you,
No,
which
hang
is
on.
fine. I said they offended you, you interrupted me, and now you're saying they offended you, which is fine. But the point I'm trying to make is this: I'm not the devil. There are certainly worse people than me, and
I don't disagree
and they exist.
with
And I'm saying that my core tenets to the people who don't understand me are self-accountability, so I'm accountable for everything I've ever said. My core tenets are responsibility, so I'm responsible for everything I've said. My core tenets are traditional masculinity to a degree, which involves protecting and providing for women. And I'll make another point here that needs to be said. The number of women who have stood up and stuck up for me is ignored.
Yep.
Thousands of women are making videos saying, I've met Andrew Tate, he's such a nice guy. I wish I had a man like Andrew Tate who felt responsible to protect and provide for me. You know what? I do belong to my husband, that's why I married him and I love him. We ignore the thousands of women who stood up and stood by me and said everything I said is true. And we're taking a very vocal minority who have taken things I've said and are pretending to be absolutely and utterly devastated by them for some reason.
All right. Time out.
Sure.
You've had a good run there.
Sure.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much...
So now we're cherry picking a story of a young girl who was a victim of online bullying, and she's died. And so they're gonna be like, so Tate, do you disagree with this? Are you saying that you support online bullying? It's so tired and old. They think we're dumb. They think we're stupid. This shit only works on old boomers like him. And it's over.
Much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father...
It's terrible.
Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms, right? It says that the particularly graphic content she saw romanticized acts of self-harm, normalized her condition, and focused on a limited and irrational view without any counterbalance of normality. First of all, what is your response to that? Nothing to do with you.
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad. The world we live in today is... The fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad. I actually feel sad inside to see something like that. This fact that they just said it's romanticizing the gory element. I don't know what she was watching, some kind of suicide videos thing. I don't know where these things are created.
Do you think the tech companies should be much tougher about stuff like this?
I don't know what kind of things she watched, obviously. I have to be a professional here. I think that the tech companies need to do their best to protect people, I guess, to a degree, but it's a slippery slope, isn't it? And then they use this slippery slope to silence some people and to
Right, and I think it's a really fine line, and it's a complicated line.
It is very.
I was interested in when you did an interview with the Times, Hugo Rifkin, he's a very good journalist. You did a big interview with him, and it was interesting to me his conclusion, because he kind of concluded that although he found a lot of the things he said awful and offensive, and he didn't like them, and he didn't want to be that kind of person that would say those kind of things, nor could he actually work out exactly what you'd done, which deserved mass wipeout by all the tech firms. I thought it was an interesting conclusion. I don't know the answer to that, other than the reason I mentioned the Molly Russell case, not because that has anything to do with you at all, and I reiterate that.
Thank you.
I simply ask you this. What has come clear to me in the interview is that a lot of things you say you wouldn't say now that you've said before.
But I'd say them differently, perhaps.
Yeah, right. So to me, that's an acceptance, not just that you want to get back on platforms, because maybe that was one of the reasons you were no platform, but that you've recognized and understood the potential harm to the wrong kind of impressionable mind by some of the things you've said. Would that...
Potential harm from influencing young, impressionable minds. God, something just comes to mind. I'm just trying. It eludes me at this moment. I'm just trying
It's Pride, everybody. Every color on the
flag
is a symbol
right.
in the sky.
The target demographic for this is clearly 18 and up, right?
And I'm proud every time that I see that pride flag waving high.
Normal.
Red means
Totally
life
normal.
because living is a gift.
It's normal.
Orange means healing, and we have
Totally
to
normal.
persist in working to heal the world and healing ourselves.
Just
Yellow means sunlight.
Hi, Billy. This is a man, and he thinks he's a dude. This is hi, Billy. This is a man, and he thinks he's a woman. So, this is his penis, and this is a machete, and he's gonna fucking hack this thing up, turn it into a vagina, inject himself with a bunch of hormones, get some fake tits, and go out there and tell people he's a real woman. And he's totally not gonna regret it. Oh yeah, let's see what's going on here. Oh, the comments are turned off. What's this? YouTube Kids. Oh, Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon's a channel for adults, right? Is that a channel for adults? Young Impressionable Minds? I swear to God, guys, if I ever go on Piers Morgan and he tries to corner me with that, I'm going to pull my phone out of my pocket and be like, what about this, Piers? I'm just going to show the song, and I'm going to have it totally queued up in my pocket, and I'm going to go super viral. I'm going to be like,
Shut up and take my money.
I'm like, what do you think about this, Piers? What do you think about telling young children that they could accidentally be in the opposite gender's body, and before the age of 18, they're allowed to inject themselves with hormone and cut their dicks off? What do you think about that, Piers? What do you think about the medical experts who believe that? What do you think about that, Piers? AJ Singh, 10 euros or 10 Great British pounds. No, stop that music. Take my 10 pounds. Thank you so much.
That be fair?
I think that's 80% fair. I recognize and understand that with massive fame, you have to be more careful about being misconstrued. Like I said earlier, 1% of people misunderstanding you doesn't matter with a small audience. It matters with a very large audience. With power comes responsibility. I still believe the things I say. I do not want to be a negative force for the world. I also understand that I am a man who's lived a very difficult, nuanced life, and I am capable of making nuanced points that may be misunderstood by teenagers. However, that can be said about anybody and everything. Every opinion online can be misunderstood by children. Trying to protect children from the internet is a very interesting subject in and of itself, because I would argue that 80% of the content on the internet can be negative or detrimental to a young mind that doesn't understand the world.
Yeah.
I'd argue that all of it. We just talked about music videos and dancing on the devil and,
Listen,
all this stuff. This stuff is dangerous.
By the way, I think you make a very good point on that. So, a lot of these rap stars, the lyrics, the videos, I think far exceed anything that you've been accused of doing.
Completely.
Because in a lot of cases, some of them promote non-consensual activity with people, right? And I just think that crosses a line you have, as far as I've seen, you haven't crossed that line.
No, I haven't, and this is the thing, and I've been vilified not because of the things I say, because much more extremist content already exists on the internet. I think the reason I've been attacked and vilified is because of the popularity, because I became so massively famous, not because of what I was actually saying. So as a professional, I analyze that and I understand that, okay, I'm massively famous now and certain things have been taken out of context. However, I still do believe I'm a force for good in the world, and I'm not going to sit here
Have you changed, though?
It's not about changing.
Well, it is. We're all involved in an evolution. How old are you now?
I'm 36.
36, right? I bet you're a different person to what you were when you were 26.
Oh, that's
and
absolutely,
16,
that's
right?
absolutely a fact.
So we all change. And Mike, you keep talking about being a good person.
Yeah.
I think if you're honest with yourself, that you can see why people found a lot of the stuff you've said problematic and misogynist. And I think you've recognized you wouldn't express yourself in that way again because you've understood that it's caused a lot of harm. And that's really what I wanted to get to today, was an acknowledgement by you that these things clearly were said in the wrong way, created the wrong impression if you didn't mean them the way you intended them, and can therefore have a malevolent influence when you have a huge following.
Yeah, when you have a huge following, you certainly have to be a lot more careful about how you get certain points across. That's absolutely a fact.
Andrew, I appreciate you coming all the way from Romania.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting conversation.
God, this guy makes me sick to my stomach. He makes me so seriously... Ugh, God. Ugh, God, just fucking gross. It gets worse. Okay. So here's the deal. Piers also did a show where he talked to a bunch of different chicks who were supposed to be like, oh, you know, we're gonna talk about that big bad misogynist Andrew Tate. Oh my God. Okay, and here we go. But first, let's just take a look at the comment section real quick. Okay. So Piers, do you breathe air? Andrew, yes. Piers, well, so did Hitler. Exactly. Gotcha. We have totally pulled a fast one on you. Andrew, a man needs to protect a woman. Piers, I agree. So we agree. No, we don't. You're misquoting me. Okay. The fact that he never apologized for everything he said was visibly frustrating to Piers. Exactly. If you just read this, this was honestly Andrew Tate masterclass. Man got interrupted and still managed to deliver his points. 9.2 thousand likes. I'm gonna give a little like up there as well. It's just absolutely, he's absolutely pulled your pants down there, Tears. Okay, and then this guy did a timestamp thing. Piers really loves the sound of his own voice and it shows. Nobody in this comment section at all is agreeing with Piers. Nobody likes this guy. I was against Andrew Tate, but this interview could completely change my mind. Thanks, Piers. You tried to cast shade and ended up shining a light. Right, and I talked to Andrew too about this, and Andrew said the feedback he's been getting from this interview has absolutely been nothing but positive. But I'm going to show you another part here. So take a look at this video. All right, and this is from Piers Morgan.
You didn't.
So here he goes. Women defending Andrew Tate's character. OMG. OMG. What do we got here? Let's take a look.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Andrew Tate is banned from social media for his videos about mainly women, but when exactly does free speech become hate speech, and who should get to decide that? Joining me now, our political journalist Ava Centino and Talk TV contributor Esther Krakow, author and podcaster and friend of Andrew Tate, Leah Haleburn, and Times columnist Hugo Rifkin. Hugo, let me start with you. Thank you for joining the show.
You can see the beta in this guy's eyes.
Your big Times interview with this guy, Andrew Tate. I found it very interesting because I knew I was going to interview him on television shortly afterwards. And what I was struck by was that although you were pretty outraged by some of the stuff he said and done and found it personally pretty offensive, you didn't really seem to be able to conclude that he'd really crossed a line that deserved the punishment he's received in terms of social media wipeout. Would that be a fair categorization?
Yes, I wasn't convinced because I'm not... Look, because...
This guy with his rotten mouth of teeth, this is what he wrote. At home with Andrew Tate, the face of toxic masculinity. And you could enjoy this garbage for
Shut up and take my money!
Like €1? Yeah, I won't even pay that. Okay, I'm gonna not even pay that. His videos have been condemned for extreme misogyny, but gained a huge following. So who exactly is the man who was, earlier this year, the most Googled man on the planet? Let's hear what Rotten Tooth Joe has to say.
Because I'm not quite sure what debate we're having here. It seems a given to me that there would be no place for Andrew Tate on a normal, conventional media outlet. They're not going to give him your show. They're not going to give him my show on Times Radio. That wouldn't happen. But it raises the question of whether we think that these tech companies, Instagram, Facebook, companies like that, ought to be being held to the same standards as traditional media. If we think they should be, then obviously he has no place in them. If
traditional media is circling the drain like your chances with all women, so like your argument here is irrelevant.
If we think they're actually more of a much more free arena where things that we might find in other places unacceptable are in fact acceptable there, then it becomes a whole different debate. And that's a debate we haven't quite settled, I think.
Right, because, I mean, to me, it's like when Trump got removed from Twitter and Facebook and so on. If you're going to let the Ayatollah of Iran continue to have active accounts on these platforms, I don't see the consistency in banning a president of the United States or indeed someone like Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite fair. You've also got to accept that, look, huge numbers of people wanted to watch him. Huge numbers of people wanted to listen to him. He's very, very good at what he does. In an earlier age, there were people like Andrew Tate who put out cassettes and CDs or were on, various forms of pirate radio. They had huge audiences. The audiences are much, much huger now, and and much less policed. They have much greater inroads, people like Tate, into teenagers for example. So it raises whole new questions, whole new issues. I'm not always convinced that just banning them is quite the right answer, but then I'm not sure I'd quite like to be making that call myself.
Right, I think that's a really good point. Leah Haleburn, you're in Miami. You know Andrew Tate. You've been to his home in Romania. You know his brother. What kind of guy is he? I mean, many people who don't know much about him will hear some of the stuff he's been saying, which I play to him and challenge him on in the interview, and they'll be horrified. But
Shut
what
up
do you
and
think?
take my money.
He's an incredibly intelligent man. I think what he's doing is very important. Right now, there's a huge war on masculinity. Men don't really have any kind of role model that they can look up to. Andrew has been very kind and very generous with me. Like I said, I know him personally. I also know him from a business standpoint. I've spent time with him one-on-one. I've never felt uncomfortable. He's never been inappropriate with me. A lot of people accuse him of misogyny. He's never been misogynistic towards me. And I think what he's doing is incredibly important.
Okay, Ava Tantina, your view of this. I mean, just
Say that
from
again,
the
sorry.
exchange we just put a preview of, where he says he prefers 18, 19-year-old women to 25-year-olds. I think you're 25, aren't you? But, you know, when he generalizes about 25-year-old women in the really, I
Damn, she's 25, bro. She looks like 32.
thought, pretty repulsive manner that he did.
Shout out to Morgan Jones, who sent me a heart sticker, $1.99 super chat. Thanks so much, baby girl. Send me a message on DM. Send me a message on Instagram. Let's see what's up.
Public, I think that is misogyny, actually, because he's branding a whole...
Oh, J123456789K1 699 Canadian. Appreciate you, MLD. How does one build great inner game and realize their true value? By accomplishing non-stop goals. Start with small goals and then build your way up to something big and change the dialogue to yourself in your mind to a positive one, non-stop.
whole category of women in a very offensive way.
I think it's close to misogyny. I think it's actually more looking at women as objectively sexual objects, which inherently is misogynistic. But it's looking for...
Which inherently is misogynistic. And then how do women view men? As fucking work donkeys and sex objects? Shut the fuck up. This is completely irrational and no logic in your statement whatsoever, bitch.
Purity in women. What he's essentially saying between those lines is that he wants some sort of virginal woman. Maybe that's why he takes this girl seriously. I don't know. But I mean, it kind of sounds a little bit like...
But he's...
Damn, and that was a little bit of a dig right there, where she's like, that's probably why he takes this girl seriously. That was a fucking catty dig. And she's just mad because Layla is cuter than her.
On the other side, he's allowed to. I mean, he can have these views. Does anything that he says, or the stuff that you've seen with him, does it cross a line where he deserves to be expunged from all social media, to be banished from the internet?
When you've got to look at the reaction that came off that. So the people who were duetting his videos or the people who were spreading his messages. When you've got 15-year-old boys espousing these sort of views.
Okay, bitch, you don't have the fucking back-end analytics of who is espousing this stuff. I'm a 36-year-old man. I'm not a fucking 15-year-old boy. You see how these are just like very pompous, condescending marks? And twice the pride, double the fall. All of this shit is going to come apart, and it's built on the backs of these arrogant fools.
Where you're talking about women in purely sexual terms, and that has come from Andrew Tate, and that's where the problem is.
What do you think?
I don't actually think that's a very fair assessment. He didn't say, oh, I only date 19-year-olds, or I prefer. He was making the point, and he could have phrased it better, absolutely. But he's saying
Which he did concede, actually,
yeah,
later
exactly.
in the interview.
But the point he's making is, and he's a very intelligent guy, like Leah was saying, so he knows what he's doing when he's saying that. Obviously, he's got a massive reaction from it, so clearly it's worked. But the point is, you know, he's saying that younger women who have had less experience with men in general are more desirable because they don't come with a certain amount of baggage. Now, you could say there are women that are more experienced that come with less baggage because they know what they want, or they're more mature mentally.
But my view is you shouldn't be talking about women in that generalized way at all of any age.
That's a fucking censorship right there. That's censorship, Piers. You see how he's such a beta cuck, and he's just like, oh, he shouldn't talk about women in any sense. No, what? Like if he's some kind of like righteous saint of fucking vaginality. I don't understand how, like, well, I guess I can't understand because the world is run by morons. It's not run by stupid people. It's run by it's not run by geniuses. It's run by morons, and this guy's one of them.
But there are people with those
I know a lot of 25-year-old women in my time. They're all very different. It's like...
No, you haven't in your time. Shut up, Piers, you fucking weirdo. He's trying to... You see that? He's such a creep. He's trying to fucking show off in front of these two girls. Listen to me. He says, I've had plenty 25-year-old women in my time. No, you haven't, you weirdo. You certainly have not.
or they're more mature mentally.
But my view is you shouldn't be talking about women in that generalised
there are
way
people-
at all of any age group.
but there are people with those
I know
views.
a lot of 25-year-old women in my time. They're all very different. It's like the idea that you bracket them all in this revolting way, which he did, which is just a lad in a nightclub kind of way. It's fine, but
that's a
to
generalisation.
do it with a big following, I think, is a malevolent influence.
And what is implied there is their sexual history. That is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But there are women that are 18 that have a more elaborate sexual history.
Well, let me ask Hugo. Hugo, you spent quite a lot of time with him for your...
And see, the black girl is about to stick up for herself and make a solid point, and then they're like, okay, let's change subjects real quick. Let's go back to Rotten Tooth Beta Male over there. Rotten Tooth, can you tell us your perspective on why you hate this man more?
Big interview for the Times. What did you actually make of him by the end? When you came away, what did you think of him?
Oh, we got on very well, but then we were two men sitting in his cigar room, bantering. You know, we had a good chat and a very honest chat. I mean, we had a very similar conversation to the conversation you're having at the moment. I think in different circumstances, I wouldn't have liked to introduce him to my wife. I wouldn't have liked to have to hang out with him with my female friends. I think that'd be intensely uncomfortable.
Yeah, because he would fucking absolutely steal the fucking glory from you, and they would look at you and compare you to him and be like, Jesus Christ, I got to get something better out of this life.
But I noticed the way that at the moment, what we're doing, we're debating whether or not he's nice, whether or not the things he thinks are nice or right. What we're not debating is whether or not they should be allowed.
Right.
And I think it slightly worries me that we've drifted into thinking those are the same debate.
I agree. When did we already become the moral arbiters for whether people should be allowed a social media platform? I mean, let me go back to Leia. I mean, to me, you might find Andrew Tate's views offensive, unsavoury, misogynist, as I did on some occasions with him, although he made some concessions in the interview. I'm not sure by the end that I concluded he'd done anything really so heinous he deserved the punishment he's got. That was my real conclusion, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't think he said anything wrong. I think all he's doing is talking about reality. And I don't think it's misogynistic to say you prefer a woman that's 18 versus 25. It's literally just a sexual preference.
The blonde girl's like, oh my God, how dare she? How dare she? Women hate other women that are prettier and skinnier than them, okay? Because they know that's like dudes hating on a dude like that's bigger and stronger than them. Like when you see guys like bigger and stronger, like, oh, bro, that guy just takes steroids, bro. Same thing. The same kind of hatred comes from like hater-ass women when they see another woman that's younger and more beautiful than him. You could hear under her voice that fucking blonde chick. That blonde chick is like, "Oh, how dare she say this? Listen to this. Listen. Look. You can just look at the misery in her eyes."
Conclusion, if I'm honest. Yeah, I don't think he said anything wrong. I think all he's doing is talking about reality. And I don't think it's misogynistic to say you prefer a woman that's 18 versus 25. It's literally just a sexual...
You hear her? Oh, God, how dare she? Listen again.
So, you have accepted the truth.
Thank you for subscribing. Listen up. Listen.
Deserved the punishment he's got. That was my real conclusion, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't think he said anything wrong. I think all he's doing is talking about reality. And I don't think it's misogynistic to say you prefer a woman that's 18 versus 25. It's literally just a sexual preference. It's the same reason why young women prefer older men.
Look at her. Like, how could she even say this? This is not the textbook I got in my gender studies class. This is so, oh my God. This is how weak of a character this woman is. That she cannot even stomach somebody disagreeing with her. And that's like the epitome of like the most privileged class on the planet. White Western women who've been told, yes, you're the best, you're empowered, you're number one. Oh, you're such a fucking wonderful white princess coming to save all of us dirty brown people. Thank you so much, our white champion of justice. Save us from your evil white man. Look at her. She can't even handle the fucking the reality of somebody disagreeing with her. What an entitled cunt.
I think it's misogynistic to say you prefer a woman that's 18 versus 25. It's literally just a sexual preference. It's the same reason why young women prefer older men.
Just to jump in, I don't think... Yeah, but I don't think...
Look at the black girl. The black girl knows what's up. She don't play. She's like, no, this bitch knows what's saying. Look at the white girl. I mean, this is the epitome of white privilege right here.
That's the misogyny. I had this argument with my...
Look at her. She's like holding back her fucking laughter.
My sons when they saw the clip. The misogyny isn't that he has a preference for girls of 18, 19, over 25. The misogyny is in the way he talks about every woman who's 25.
But that's
as
just
if they're all the
emotional
same and
reaction.
they've all been
But
through
that's
this
just an emotional
tawdry background which he finds so distasteful. That's obviously ludicrous.
Well, I think
you know, and that's the thing. What they're trying to do, because listen, if you were to do this, okay, if you were to conduct a study across the world and you were to add up all the women who are 18 and all their body counts and all the women that are 25 and their body counts, okay, there would be such a large disparity. Okay, it's like saying, okay, listen, it's cloudy outside, so you might want to take an umbrella. Now, it's not raining, but it's cloudy. And all Tate is saying, hey, you know what? It's cloudy outside. Take an umbrella. And Piers is like, how dare you assume that it's going to rain? How dare you? I am absolutely appalled by the fact that you have just assumed that it's going to rain out there. You are a misogynist and you hate rain. It's like, again, and it's just it's a manipulation to point. It is completely not logical, not rational at all. And all he's doing is pandering to his audience because it's a safe thing to do because he's afraid of getting canceled too. But again, nobody likes Piers Morgan. He's a real creep, obviously a fat beta male, total blue pill. And hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do, but pretty pathetic overall.
I think he speaks with a lot of hyperbole. His goal was to go viral. Obviously, as Esther mentioned, not all 25-year-old women have been sleeping with every single man that they meet in the nightclub. So there's always exceptions. But I just think in general, a 25-year-old woman obviously has had more experience than an 18-year-old woman. And some men prefer that. Some men don't like that. And I think that's completely fine. I think
it's so gross. You are right. It's so gross. She can't even shut her fucking mouth and have some dignity to like respect other people on the panel and respect herself. Oh, it's so gross. So gross. No, woman, you're gross. Your attitude is gross. Who is this fucking Jezebel anyways? Does anybody know who this irrelevant fucking Jezebel is? I want to look her up. I guarantee she's probably she has some kind of fucking feminist bullshit out there. I want to see if there's no. Okay. I'm gonna let this play, but I'm gonna go back to the beginning and try to if Chad, if you could find her name, sort it out for me in the chat.
what really scares me is the censorship that we see online. On Twitter, there's actually porn on Twitter. You have terrorists on Twitter, and yet a man who's just talking about reality and the real dynamics between men and women.
You know what? I got to say,
I
have to say, Leia, I think you make a good point. I think the Taliban have Twitter accounts. The Ayatollah of Iran, he's threatened to wipe out Israel, has a Twitter account. You know, Donald Trump doesn't, Andrew Tate doesn't. Why? You know, I can't really get a satisfactory response from these platforms. So it's a very interesting debate, I think, to be had. We're going to run the full interview with Andrew Tate. Well, the whole thing will appear on YouTube by the end of the week. We're going to run a good hour of it later in the week. It is a fascinating watch, I have to say. And you might like him, you might hate him. But the real question is, should he be banned? Thank you to my panel. Thank you to Hugo. Thank you to Leia. That's it from me.
That's it for me. I'm going to go fucking smell some of my intern's hair now. You looked weak not letting Tate speak. He seems to have his emotions under control. A true example of all men around the world. You lost this one, Piers. Exactly. Ask someone a complex, loaded question. Interrupt them 20% of their answer. Repeats what he thinks. Moves forward with the other question. Repeat. Okay? Yeah, exactly. This is it. Let me go back to the beginning, see who this irrelevant blonde bitch is.
Our political journalist, Ava Centino, and talk to Vicky True.
Who? A political journalist? What? Oh, is there? There must be a transcript here. Hold on. Our political journalist who has slept with me to get her position. That's why she's so disgusting and miserable. Our political journalist. Blah, 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 blah. God, I hate this bit. Esther Krakow. Okay, that sounds like Polish. Esther Krakow. Our political analyst, Esther Krakow. Oh, she's so irrelevant. I can't even, she doesn't even pop up. Oh, Krakow? Maybe that's what it is. Krakow. Oh, no, this is the black girl. Ava 17? Ava 17? No. Ava.
Shut up and take my money.
What is her name? Hold on.
Speech, and who should get to decide that? Joining me now, our political journalist Ava Centino, and talk to Vicky True.
Santine? Ava Santina. God. Ava Santina. Here she is. All right, let's see what shit this bitch is up to. First of all, she is absolutely not as pretty as she is depicting herself on social media, which is completely uncool. Bruh. Okay, look at her here. This is false advertisement. Okay. This is obviously, I mean, no wonder she's mad about the body count remarks. Really?
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Revelations about...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I understand why you don't want to be called out on your body count there. And this is totally false advertisement here, sister. I mean, look, she's got her titties out in her fucking avatar. Very serious journalist. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. Yeah, just nothing screams serious like this. What a weirdo, dude. She looks like Jack Nicholson here. Ugh. Gross. Gross. I mean, what are we going to do? Right? What are we going to do? Can you believe that? Like, what did just like a flat out abortion that whole thing was? There you have it, guys. That's the mainstream media for you. That is the mainstream media. Oh, I think I got a super chat. SLV 1659 super chat. I guarantee that Gross Blonde has a 50+ body count and doesn't like Layla. Clearly is higher value. Yeah, Layla's way cuter. Way cuter. And I got a thing for blondes. And she makes me not like her. Okay. It's pretty wild. So, you know, it's clearly just a fucking it's just clearly a hatchet job on Tate. And again, for you guys at home, for you men at home watching, okay, now you understand, right? This is the plan. That is their agenda. How you are seeing Piers Morgan blatantly say, oh, this is misogynist, this is that, right? You could see clearly through their tactics. You could see clearly what their agenda is. I mean, he was even about to go on and be like, you know, he is anti-Israel. It's like, dude, like you are reading from the boomer playbook. But he's a boomer. His audience is boomers. And boomers need to do what boomers are going to do soon, and which is just die and get out of the way because you guys fucked everything up. So that being said, mate, we're going to be back tomorrow with Tokyo Crypto Show. Thanks so much for watching today. I appreciate you guys. It was a long one. It was a good one. I hope this added a lot of value to your life. And until then, we'll see you next time. Peace out.